You got to turn that up. I can barely hear it. Good.
Rivers flowing strong and deep, wash away your tears. Mother, I hear your cry, I feel your every sigh. I have come to comfort you round the medicine wheel. I walk your sacred ground, healing waters I have found. Rivers flowing strong and deep, wash away your tears. Mother, I hear your cry, I feel your every sigh. I have come to comfort you round the medicine wheel. I walk your sacred ground, healing waters I have found. Rivers flowing strong and deep, wash away your tears. Mother, I hear your cry, I feel your every sigh. I have come to comfort you round the medicine wheel. I have come to comfort you round the medicine wheel. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Happy Earth Day number 2. Here we are with some new people today that we are going to be visiting with. Leo, are you with me? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry, I'm trying to share the video out. Right? Okay, share this out. Share this out. Share this out. Welcome everybody.
Hello. Good morning.
Yeah, sorry, you caught me on another page trying to share that because for some reason I don't know why, guys. For some reason, when I'm going live and I'm telling it to go live on Psychic Reading and Development, it's not wanting to do that, and it's driving me nuts. So I had to share it from. Sorry, I wanted to fix the screen there because if I left it where it was, the logo was over Peter's face. Wrong, and not going to have that happen. Time out. Got to fix that. All right, so welcome to everybody that's out there in the audience. Share this out, share this out, share this out, and I'll do like I do on my normal show. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into the show. Okay, before we get started, I have a commercial that I want to do. Those of you who have been listening to my show in the last 3 weeks, now you know what I'm about to do, but if you don't, you're going to put this up for you. So let me put this up so you guys can see. We have in Ancient Aliens Worldwide, I have, where is this now? I had it up here, and here it is. Sorry. We have Ancient Aliens Worldwide, which I will give you the link to that in the chat. Well, on Friday the 13th, Friday the 13th, 2022 at 11 a.m. It is a Friday, right? 11 a.m., just like we're starting now at 11 a.m. West Coast America time. You can see on the screen 2 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. GMT, or 4:30 a.m. in India. You can pretty much extrapolate out to the entire planet where you reside in that. We're going to have Andrew Collins, who, of course, has been on almost every episode of Ancient Aliens on the television show, and he's a 15-time author. He's going, that book that you see right there on your screen, Origins of the Gods, is hitting the world in all the places where you can buy it online or in bookstores on Friday the 13th. We have an exclusive interview with Andrew Collins on that day. It'll only be aired in Ancient Aliens Worldwide, the group on Facebook. We're not going to air it anywhere else until after the show is over. We have a contract with their promoters, his producers, and his publisher to do so. And afterwards, of course, they're going to have that recording. Andrew will, and his publishers and producers and everybody, and that's going to go global as well in the MP3 file. I will also put out after that show. And if you don't notice at the bottom of the screen, this is the cool part. They are allowing us to do a contest, not one, not two, but 3 contests during the live performance. You have to be present to win. We will be giving away a book from the publisher of that Origins of the Gods, brand new book to 3 people during the course of the at least 2 hours that he's going to give us. He might go on because he talks like I do. So you guys might want to take a look at that and show up, but you have to be a member. So I'm going to put that up on the screen for you guys to see in the chat. If you guys are interested, some of you already have. There's already over 230. It's like I think it was up to 237, almost 240 people that have said they're definitely going. Okay, so you guys have to remember that Ancient Aliens Worldwide, that group has almost 300,000 members. So that number is going to go up just because it's going to be live there, and people that are going to log on are going to jump into the audience as well. So your chances, if you want to win a book, are going to diminish the more and more people that show up. However, we're going to do 3 separate during the shows, 3 separate contests, and we're going to give away his book. And this is an exclusive interview that he's giving us. He's not doing any other interview between now and then. He refuses. His people won't let him do it, and he might give some afterwards. But we have the exclusive, and it's going to be really, really exciting. So you guys should be there. In fact, let me also put up here for those of you who are, I don't know if I can get this one to work because this one was acting kind of weird on me. No, I'm not going to be able to. So if you go to the events calendar, once you get to Ancient Aliens Worldwide, once you're accepted into the group, and everybody knows, pretty much almost everybody's getting allowed in right now, because when I do the show, there's going to be a lot of you guys that are going to be listening to this that are going to go over there. So the administrators that are running that, I think there's 15 of them now that are running that. They know that there's going to be a bunch of people that are going to be coming on that are going to be from the shows that we're doing live. So just so you guys know that, but you have to be present to win, and it's going to be really cool. Trust me. I don't even know, honestly, I don't even know the content. I haven't read the book, and I've been sworn to secrecy, even though I do know some of the stuff. I do know this, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a secret that you guys are only going to hear here. I don't know if you guys are aware, but no, you know what? I can't. I'm sorry. I just realized that I was sworn to secrecy. There's information that he's going to be giving us that he has not told anyone ever. Okay. And there's going to be information in this book, according to Mandy Wilson, who's the curator of Ancient Aliens Worldwide. She's reading the book currently, and she's like, oh my God, Leo, wait until we get this guy live. So the information that's coming out in this book from him is going to be insane, crazy, and I spent way too much time plugging that, so I apologize to everybody who's here today, because today is about Earth Day, but I had to plug that because I forgot to do it yesterday as much as I should have. I think I mentioned it once, maybe. And I was supposed to be doing my show at 4 p.m. yesterday, and I would have plugged it twice there. And I didn't, because when I was done here, I had 2 hours in between, and I was tired and said, forget it. I'm not going to leave Mom set again without me being there to help her out. So now that that's done, I apologize to everybody who was here for Earth Day. Let's get the Earth Day thing started. As you can see, we have, like Virginia said, we have a couple of people. Peter is here bright and early. He popped in yesterday for a while. If you guys didn't tune in for the entire show, you didn't see Peter, right? And then we have Jamie in here today as well. And then, of course, Casey's back with us, of course. I'm glad for that. And we're hoping that some more people will come in. We got a bunch of people lined up in a chat room, and I guess they're all kind of going, I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to come in. So some people get kind of weird and get kind of, I'm not sure if I want to be a part of that, man. I'm scared. People are that way. Right.
Before we get started, can I do a little prayer ditty, kind of bring the energy down a little bit?
Yeah.
Calm it down a little bit.
Bring it down, right?
Right. Okay, so
I'm going to put you up on the screen.
Okay, terrific.
That way people can see you. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for joining us for the second day of celebrating Gaia Mother Earth and all the mess. I'm sorry. This is why we need to do this. Bring the energy down a little bit, and to celebrate and give thanks for all the blessings that she bestows upon each and every one of us every day of our lives. So if you have any crystals, feel free to hold those. Got some candles burning. Got the incense going. Today, we are celebrating and giving thanks to Gaia Mother Earth. I open my eyes to a brand new day, and whatever next will come my way. I will receive it with an open heart, knowing that each day is a brand new start. I open my eyes to the little things. Please tickle my soul with feathery wings. Gods and goddess, creator of all, thanks for this day. Spirits and angels and fae, please come our way. So mote it be, so it is. Amen.
So it is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia.
That was powerful.
Thank you. Good morning, Denise.
That was powerful.
Yes, I wanted to say, everybody that is out there in the audience, we are here for you. The shows are for you, and jump in, ask questions, make comments. Again, today we're just going to do, it's fun, it's laid back, it's a round table. We're not doing specific times or structured lectures, etc. There may be some readings, there may be some psychic medium channeling. This is a non-denominational space, so all are welcome. Whoever, however you celebrate life every day, and Gaia Mother Earth and the god or goddess or Buddhist beliefs that you have, whatever that may be, pagan, Wiccan, all is welcome. So share out, share out, share out, enjoy, have fun, and remember to breathe. Leo, you're up.
Me? Why me? It's always
As it's
Leo.
you. You're on. You're on.
Right? Get the guy up there who can talk, right? Get him on there. Get him
There
on
you
there.
go. I'm still working on my coffee.
Get him going. Right?
Still working on my coffee.
Right? So yeah, exactly. So let's just pick up where we left off yesterday. After we were on the air yesterday, and after we were clear off air, Peter and I got to talking, and he brought up a few things that we didn't really cover as much as we should have during the show. We kind of touched on it yesterday, and I said that's good. Let's go down that road. So I'm going to segue straight into that because Peter and I already talked about this. Like I said, off air yesterday. One of the things we forgot to really talk about. We were talking about, healing yourself and loving yourself so that other people could love you and you could accept that and you could love other people. But what we forgot to talk about was the chakra points and how important that is to fix that, because you can't get to that chakra place of love without going through the other and fixing and aligning of the other chakras that you have. And also that coincides with people, and this is Peter brought this up, and I'm gonna segue into that and give it back to Peter because I want him to say it in his words again. But he had said these people out there have this misconception that we're going to go from 3D to 4D right into 5D, and we're going to skip over 4D. How do they think they're going to get to 5D, which is the love, the heart chakra, without going through the 4D, which is the work you have to put in to get to 5D, right? So Peter, pick up where we left off yesterday when we were off air and go and run with that, brother.
I was actually listening to meditation the other day, and it's one of the first I've ever heard do this. She first balances your chakras. She aligns them and she balances them before you go into the meditation. Obviously, when she does that, you wide open to receiving. And that got me thinking. I mean, we all do meditations, but none of us actually sit down and get the chakras and flowing first. Clean it, balance it, that kind of stuff. We don't do it. And the moment I started with that meditation, I knew, listen, this is different stuff. Right? This is a level above what I've done before. But why? Because my chakras were all working, all aligned, all balanced. Now, as I said to Leo yesterday, it's people always worry about grounding. They have to ground, which is important. But you can't ground properly if that chakra lines aren't flowing and pulling your energy into the earth. Then you do proper grounding. So You have to align first and balance it. We all talk about balancing your chakras, but if one is just a little bit out of alignment, you're blocked. And that's where a lot of blockages come from. We get all funny stuff with spells, it's this. Many times it's only your chakras that are blocked or need realigning. So we just need to focus a bit on the chakras tonight.
Yeah, I had brought up that one of my things that I do every morning before I even get out of bed is that I put in my headset and I listen to just even a 10-minute chakra balancing, and I put that, those roots that into the core of the earth, and I go through each chakra. I help make sure that it's spinning and do each one and concentrate and do that in order to be able to connect. So that way I'm ready for the day. And I know that really helps me. And then afterwards I go out after I get up and go out into my yard and then actually connect and ground like you were talking about, Peter. But we didn't yesterday talk as much about the chakra system. And thank you so much for bringing that up, Peter, because it is so, so important. And I know just
half your illness is going to go away simply by your chakras working properly. Not all your illnesses, half, probably more than half, because if your body's energy is flowing properly, everything is better. The ancient shamans, now I'm getting into healing, I'll get back to the chakras just now. The ancient shamans don't believe you heal a specific spot on a body or a specific part of a body. You heal the whole of the body. So what they do is they focus all the energy on the chakras. They heal the energy field of a person. Once you heal that energy field of a person, you heal the person. So even back then, they already started with the chakras. If I can heal your energy or your energy field as such, can bet you I'll cure any disease. Energy is everything. I just need to heal that energy. If I heal the energy field, off you go.
So how would you clean your chakras then? Like a lot of times, do you start from the bottom to the top, or do you go top to bottom? Do you picture a color? Like for me, I just do a meditation.
For me, I start here because the knob and the head needs to work for the information to come in. But normal blockages here, your sacral chakra, the creativity, that's where people I get the most blockages.
Right.
It's in that stomach area.
Right.
So we've got different ways and means of doing it. I just work from the top to the bottom because I want the knowledge to sort out the rest first. But I'll get some do it other way around as well.
Right. So there's no right or wrong, right way or wrong way, right?
No, because what happens is your chakras independently go out of alignment depending on what's going on with your psyche and in life. So you could literally be completely in balance in your crown chakra, and your root chakra could be out of balance, or the other way around. You could have your heart chakra out of balance and everything else can be in balance. It's or you could have more than one. Yeah.
So, and then what would you consider that that they're clear?
As a Reiki master teacher, we have kind of an upper hand, right? Because the whole extrasensory thing sort of comes into play with us. So when we're checking people, we kind of get a better feel for it. But an individual person, when you tune it, just like a tuning fork, if you listen and get in tune with your body, when you get a single chakra that is out of place, you can sense that, because if you look into what the chakras are for, each chakra, starting with the root chakra, it has a specific action involved. There's everything. There's a color, then there's a vibration, there's a sound, there's a harmonic resonance that goes with it on every level, and then there's the action in this reality. The base root chakra is the I am chakra. The reason it is the I am chakra is it's the first inkling of your soul being integrated into this construct of I think, therefore I am. So once that realization comes into play, you then are in that red root chakra, which is the base, which is the brand new beginning chakra. And you can tell when that's out of balance because you're not in sync with the world. You're not in sync with Mother Nature. You're not in sync with Gaia. You're not in sync with anything. And most of us aren't. Most of the time, we become. Hold on. Let me bring Queenie CC into the out of the green room. Right? So
sorry, also, Leo, we have it looks like Karen is trying to jump in as well.
Okay, good. Right.
Okay.
What I just wanted to add on to Leo. Sorry, Leonard. If you get that feeling that you're feeling airy-fairy, that you're drifting, you should know something is out of balance. Your grounding is going. Yep. It's not working. That grounding won't work if your chakras aren't working. You're out of balance. Yep. And you feel this lightheadedness, and you feel like you're drifting through the day, that kinds of stuff. That's normally chakras that's either out of alignment or not working or blocked or whatever. If you're an artist, for instance, the moment your creativity goes away, you get that blocks. Yep. That's your sacral chakra that's blocked. You just feel stuck.
When that happens. Yeah.
I can bet you can go fix that chakra 10, 15 minutes, hour later on, the creative juices flows again. It's all about energy. So that lines
and everything in society,
that lines are right,
we talked about this before, that religion that belongs to those people who care about whether you have a D or an R or an I after your name, and those sports announcers that do nothing but talk about that religion. Those are the people that are on the news that you watch on any channel. Those people and that whole message is pushing fear onto you and trying to keep especially the first 3 chakras out of alignment. Because if those chakras are out of alignment, it pulls your entire vibration back down to those alignments. So instead of being in a higher place, they want to get the base root out of order. They want to get the sacral out of order. They want to get your heart chakra out of order. If they can get the higher ones out of order, they go after those. But it's easier to go after the base and get you off kilter, in which case you start focusing, not realizing it, on that. Why am I on? Everything is not working right. I don't fit, like Peter said. The everything is just not meshing. What's going on? And most people ignore it because they think that's normal life. Yeah. Because that is what's happening to us 24/7, right? And then we do that to each other, right?
With since bringing it back to Earth Day, why we're here, step outside, go barefoot, just like Casey said yesterday. Connect with Gaia, Mother Earth, and it's a great way to align your chakras. And as someone that does Reiki master teacher, someone who does psychic medium work, reading cards, tuning into a variety of energies, if one part of us is out of alignment, right? If one part of us is out of alignment, it's not only messing up our energy, but it's messing up the energy of the person we're doing Reiki on and healing for, or the spiritual energy that's coming through that's helping us to share what needs to be shared with the individual that we're trying to guide and help. So for me, I don't know about everyone else on the panel, I see a blockage. It's almost like a mucky black spot. That's how it feels, and that's what it looks like. So if you feel that anywhere in your body, aches and pains, nausea, or you see that black spot, that is your first clue. Pay attention to what's going on, where it's located, and focus on that. And it's as simple as, oh, my stomach really hurts today. Okay, focus on, if you can sit outside, look at a rose, look at a beautiful flower in your yard, a butterfly, listen to the birds, whatever it may be. And up here, you can do it if it's raining, it's snowing, there isn't any roses in bloom yet. You can focus on that up here, and it will heal your stomach here because all is connected. I just wanted to put that out there so that people know there is no specific rule. There is no specific.
So horses for courses type thing.
I'm sorry, Peter, say that again.
So it's like a horses for courses type thing with the chakras. We all have our different ways, means.
Yep.
You have to figure what works for me doesn't work for Virginia, for instance. She's got her own ways of doing it. I've got my own ways of doing it. As long as you get that alignment and the flow going, there's no exact science to this is how we're going to do it or that's how we're going to do it. We all have our ways and means of doing it, but it's incredibly important. I mean, if this crown chakra is blocked, you ain't getting information in. You're not getting that messages from spirit. You're not getting the information, so you're stuck.
Yep.
You stay on that certain level because you're blocked. Information's not coming in. The moment that crown chakra goes open, the flood comes in. So it's important, these things. Chakras is incredibly important.
Yeah, everything works. You have to understand that the way the universe works itself is on that same vibratory level, right? If you look at the rainbow, that rainbow of colors is a light spectrum that we only see like when it's raining and the sunlight shines through it. But you can also see that if you take that prismatic, the prism of something that is, that is a glass, and you put a light through it at the right angle, you get the same thing. You can see that light spectrum. But the entire universe works. I did an entire hour presentation last year on Earth Day about all of that, showing you how everything meshes, that gas, solids, and music, water, everything is a vibration, and it all fits together like this. They never touch, but they overlap each other, and they make up the composition of the reality that we're in from the base root, which, if you look at the rainbow, it's also the same colors as the chakras, starting with the red, going to the purple. Okay, so there's a reason for all of that, and all of those things, they don't touch each other, but they affect each other. And so when one is out of order or down here or somewhere in between, and it's not working right, it affects everything that's around it as well. And that's what Peter's talking about. And the only way that you can, if you're going to ascend to the 5D reality that everybody is claiming that we're just going to shoot through to, then you can't do that unless everything is in alignment. You can't go to a 5D reality if you have all of your 1D, 2D, and 3D chakras completely out of alignment. How do you expect to vibrate at the proper place to be in a place that is higher than where we are now when you don't vibrate there? Right? So you have to go and you have to learn yourself. This is what we talked about yesterday of going inside, doing the shadow work. You have to learn yourself what works for you and how you can fix these things for yourself. And if you can't figure out how to do that, you can go to somebody. They're out there. We're all out there that we can assist and we can help you with that. But the truth is that you have to be your own. We talk about this when you're in a hospital. You have to be your own advocate. You have to be your own, but I say this all the time now, you are the savior you're waiting for, right? You are the Christ. You are the savior you're waiting for to come back. Jesus was already here many times, 12 times, counting the last time when he used the name Jesus. 12 times that character came in history to 12 different nations to show them the way, and said, the way to heaven is through me, not because I have to become a Christian, but because I have to listen to what Jesus said, pay attention to that, and then utilize that information, not just becoming a Christian because Marduk from the Mesopotamian religion was the Jesus character in another guise. If you guys read the book by Joseph Campbell, The Hero of a Thousand Faces, he was onto it. If you read all the scrolls, and I suggest you do, find all the scrolls, all the dusty tomes you can find from every religion, read their creation story, you're going to find that there's one thing that is constant. The story itself is the same. Okay. The only thing that changes is whether they have whether they're selling a monotheistic male God like they did to the Hebrews and the Christians, or if they're doing a duality like the Bohemians, the Vikings had a god goddess that were equal, and a lot of other religions do in between there. So the only thing that changes is the dynamic of the Godhead, whatever you want to call that, the creation being either male or female or male female or androgynous. That's the only thing that changes. Below that, the hero character is still the same hero character. It's just the name changes. Thor was the Jesus character, right? Thor did what? Thor was the hero who did what? Would sacrificed himself and then had to fight what? Tiamat the dragon? No, I'm sorry, the dragon of the North Sea. Oh, that's right. That's different than Tiamat the dragon. And that's different than the serpent in the garden that Jesus fought against, right? No, the representation of that dragon, that serpent, is still the same in all the stories. It's the great evil that's trying to destroy the savior character or the hero character. So the stories don't change. So what does that have to do with the chakras? Everything, because that's the crown chakra. That's the hero character. The savior character is you, your immortal soul, which is that purple and beyond in the balance of all the chakras, right? So you have to understand the whole totality. That is the makeup, and this is what we're referring to here. Peter's referring to. You have to understand the whole totality. That Vitruvian man or woman that Da Vinci made, what was the center of that circle with that human body in there? The heart chakra. That was the center. That's why most of the time you see that with the light in the center. That's because that's the creation, that's love, that is the God particle, the Higgs boson. It's the love, it's the heart chakra. So at the very least, you need to work on that one, because if you can open the heart chakra, then you can see the problems with everything else. Am I just going on here, or does anybody agree or disagree with me?
Well, I tried to speak up before going.
Like,
So I was
Good morning, Queen. Say
Yeah.
hello.
Hello, my
Raise your
love.
hand,
Yeah,
raise
I'm
your hand
so
if you want to
glad.
talk,
I'm
guys. Raise
working-
your hand.
I was just working with a client, and we were just talking about this when we were talking about crystals. And she had said something very interesting to me. She said, I don't feel a connection to a crystal that we were working with. And I said, well, bring it into your space, bring it into that heart space, and start to talk to it, because we are a crystalline being. We in 3D move slowly. We have a body because of that slow crystalline body. But then I said, that's even slower than you are. So make friends with it, start to feel very comfortable with it. And after we did a few cleansings, she started to feel much more comfortable with it. And I will tell you, it was very interesting to watch her light up physically when she was holding her crystal, because at first she was sort of like, oh, it's a rock, it's cold, it doesn't have anything. By the end of our session, she was very much like, it was almost like a mother-child experience, what I got from her, the feeling I got from her. And I said, you can do that with any rock you find out in nature. That rock is, if that rock calls to you, and I suggest that with anybody, this is an Earth Day thing that I found. You're walking down the street and a rock calls your name, pick that rock up, because it wants to connect with you. And that's the thing about Earth Day that I would love to share. Every beautiful thing that the world has to share with you is available. It is all here in the club. There's, look.
Perfect. There you go.
Yes.
Jamie. Perfect.
And it's got a hole in it too. Like it just came to me.
It's a witch's rock. When they have the holes like that, it's called a witch's rock.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And
I didn't
it's
even know I was
really-
a witch.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a witch.
No.
But I would check your DNA. It might be in your family DNA.
maybe.
All right,
Or
I want to put this up. I want to put this up because Jeanette asked this. She said, so that my soul died and is being reborn again. This is what happened to Jesus is what we're all going through on this planet. Think about this. It's what everyone has to go through. People say, oh my God, this place is hell and it's going to hell in a handbasket. This is the proverbial, could be, if you allow it, be hell, because hell and heaven are a mindset, not just a place. Here on this earth, it's what we make of it. So we can create heaven here or we can create hell here. So what's happening to us is we're kind of going through that. The dark night of the soul, which you have referred to right after that. And then I want to get everybody else's take on this too. The dark night of the soul and the shadow work is us basically going through the same process that Jesus went through. We have to descend into ourselves to the darkest regions, which would be the hell of our soul. And then we have to ascend to the light. So the shadow work is what Jung called, Carl Jung, who invented the word shadow and shadow work, dealing with the soul, by the way. That's why Carl Jung has an institute named after him in the world, and because of his work and being so honest and open and creating that avenue for us to understand that becomes the hell for us, because it is, if you think about it, when you have to face yourself and you have to be honest with yourself and go, okay, I'm not a nice person because I do this or I do that, then you're kind of in hell because it sucks there.
How many
am I wrong?
times have each of us, at least once, I'm sure every person here and every person in the audience has said, man, I had a hell of a day. That right there, right?
Right.
I mean, you know, I had a hell of a day at work. I had a hell of a day getting to and from wherever in traffic.
Right. People say that, oh, today was just hell.
Every single day we have the opportunity, you know, pick up, like Christine said, pick up a rock, pick up a crystal, pick up, if you're into wood carving, pick up a branch that fell down in the storm the night before. There's so many things that are provided to us by Mother Earth that is put before us by our spirit guides, our angels, our ancestors, and these are all different things that we can work with and incorporate going through our shadow work, going through our daily activities. It helps, whether it's, I said yesterday, whether it's cards, whether it's crystals, and helping people to find their healing ability, their higher self, right? And it doesn't matter, again, I want to say, because there's been a lot of topic already this morning about God, about church, about Christianity. I understand it is Sunday. I get that, but it doesn't matter what your religious choice is. It doesn't matter how you're choosing to worship. It doesn't matter what your spiritual house looks like. You know, excuse me. I often tell people, you know, they say our body is our temple and we need to treat it as such. Well, just because I'm in the grocery store and I have tattoos and it's summertime and maybe I have a tank top on, well, don't judge another, because this is my temple and I'm choosing my stained glass. But that doesn't mean that I'm any different or any less than anybody else. And it's all about, like we were talking yesterday, I'm bringing it back. Love, love, love. Love of self, love of planet, love of neighbor, love of the higher source, whatever that may be for you, and the love of our ancestors who got us where we are today. And it's through their lessons learned that is handed down in our DNA that we continue to grow and progress and move forward and make this world, make our space a better place.
Absolutely. I'm just going to interject, if you don't mind, because I wasn't on yesterday, because I was like, damn, I have to get on today. It's so bad. But I was in my 3D reality, so I couldn't participate yesterday. But I did go outside at lunchtime. They looked at me like I was a crazy lady because I was walking around outside with no shoes on.
Great.
One of the things that I found with one of my original teachers is he said to me, there is a healer in every house. I want you to understand that every human has the potential to heal themselves. Physician, heal thyself. And the way we can do that is we honor the body on the temple level, like you were just saying, Virginia. Give it water. We are 60% water. So what came to me when I was thinking about Earth Day was sit with yourself and say, I can't fix the entire world, but I can fix the world that I touch. So if you put yourself in a place when you go to the grocery store and you choose to support local farmers, or you choose to support people who are putting money towards water projects, or one thing, just think about it one way. You can do one thing, and one thing becomes somebody else's one thing. And if we have 8 billion people on this planet, if everybody did one thing, Think about how amazing by next year this world could be. Think how the fear that is in the collective can dissipate in one day. If we stopped thinking about things we can't control or the narrative that is being fed to us, and this is a primal DNA thing that we're facing right now, because food and hunger shortages were something that we have from the time that a first being crawled out of the primordial ooze. That's what they did. They spent their days foraging because there was no grocery store down the street. They had to find food. They had to find clean water, food, and shelter. And this is what the powers to be know is make people afraid that somebody is taking away your food, your water, and your shelter. And they have the control. And I'm not saying that this is the narrative and this is where we think. But if we take it back into our heart space and we just do one small thing, grow your own food. I'm just telling you, plant a garden, and give stuff away to a food bank. That is what I do every summer. And I'm not I go by Kitchen Witch. All you guys know who I am. I plant food and I give it to my local food bank. When I don't have the ability to eat my own food, I'll give them what I have extra. I talked to 2 churches and told them, you know what, plant a garden. And they did. Another person I know has a bee farm. They are putting together beehives and they are putting this project together to allow people go out and throw seeds next to some place for wildflowers so that pollinators can survive. There's something you can do. By the end of next year, you will have more bees in this earth. That is a huge thing. But this is the point that we all need to realize. We don't need to solve every problem. We need to solve one.
Yeah.
And if food is your thing, do that. And that's my thing. I'm a Taurentian. I have Taurentian in my my moon sign. So it's all about the food and the safety. Boom. There it is. If somebody else is about a Leo, it might be going out there and putting out signs and being big, bold, and whatever. You do what you do, but I'm just laying it down. I'm laying this as a challenge for every person who is listening today.
Thank you. Yes.
Do one thing.
Yeah, this is great. I am so glad that you brought all of that up. Because if you heard me yesterday, that's exactly what I was trying to focus on. And it is just one thing. And it doesn't have to be a huge thing. I grow all kinds of vegetables, love my greenhouse. And it's true. If you cannot enjoy it yourself, share it with the next door neighbor, share it with the church. Take it to the women's homeless shelter for them and their children. It's just the one thing. And yesterday we talked about the paying it forward. It's a simple thing to do wherever you might be. Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And I think that, just as humans, we overcomplicate things. And so, like we were talking yesterday and Christine bringing it up and Virginia of doing small things that the smallest things can make a huge difference, and to give yourself that credit and make sure you're being like, hey, I did something today, whether it be sending that energy out, whether it be, planting, just like Virginia was saying, if you're in a, in an apartment and being able to do, some potted things and maybe just on your windowsill, or, I have a little kitchen thing that is just in my kitchen that has lights that I can just do little herbs in. And so that can go year round. But one thing that I did want to bring up was the power of words. We were talking about, I had a hell of a day. And, of where we were focusing our energy on, that's where, where the tension goes, the energy flows. And
Absolutely.
So watching our words of, when you have something happen in the morning that, like yesterday morning, I woke up with a little bit of a bug and wasn't feeling all, but I pressed forward and both Leonard and Virginia sent me a little bit of Reiki healing, and within minutes, I was like, oh, I'm great. Thanks, guys. And I felt wonderful. But, it was important for me to not start out my day and be like, oh, great. I've got, here's my stuff. I don't know if I'm going to be able to come online. And this is just starting my day off. If your attention is going that way, then that's how your thoughts and your energy is going to continue.
Mhm.
But if you
Exactly.
stop that,
You're programming yourself.
yes. And that's what we all need to
It's
do
that
is
whole-
reprogram those thoughts that we've either been taught by society, by our family, by our school, by our friends, of beating ourselves up, not giving ourselves grace, because like we were talking about, it all starts with us. We have to fix ourselves, each our own first, and then being able to share with others and sharing that light and the love and the knowledge.
Right.
So we
as they
can't
say,
all-
the oxygen mask, right? We've
Yes.
all heard the oxygen mask on the airplane. Put it on yourself first before you can help somebody else. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, that's just like what I was saying about the understand, right? And
Yeah.
it's that word alone. We're just jammed with it. We say it all automatically. And that's why I said yesterday, one day I won't blurt that word out. I'll say understand and not understand, because we don't stand under anyone. But it's part of that societal stuff that we don't realize is negative, right? Back in the 80s or 90s,
Programming.
whenever that was, they came out with The Secret. And that was part of The Secret, is getting that negativity out of in here. Get it out, right?
Yeah. And just catching
So we
yourself.
have to work on that. We have to be aware of it, right? The first
Yeah.
step, I say this all the time, it's not my saying, but the first step of avoiding a trap is knowing of its existence. So you have to be able to become aware. And how do we do that? We have to do that shadow work again. We have to go inside ourselves and find out what's wrong. So we have to be objective, not subjective, right? Instead of being a subject, you have to be objective, and you have to be honest. That's the only way you can be honest, is to be objective. And the only way you can be objective is to be honest. So those things are synonymous, right? You have to have one and to have the other. And that's the only way that you can do work on yourself to fix yourself in any way. Am I wrong in that?
No, I think,
100%.
yeah, I think too, it's like, you are what you think you are. I mean, it's kind of like what Peter was just saying. You program yourself each day when you wake up. And I had a mindset back in a long time ago where it was, I woke up thinking I was a piece of shit. And then I was pissed off at the world, and I ran on anger. Anger and resentment was the only way that I knew how to survive. And I needed to pick out things to get pissed about so I could feel, because that was the only way I felt.
Right.
And then eventually, the onions peeled, and I want to grow spiritually. And then I start to change my mindset. So it's like, and there's a mantra out there: move a muscle, change a thought. Move a muscle, change a thought. I mean, that's why 9 times out of 10 I go for a walk, because I need to be in nature to breathe better, to think better, to think clearly. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, no, it does. That's like, if you look at, what was the song? There's a line in a song, and I don't remember who sang it, but it was a female who sang it back in the day. And she actually said, free your mind and your ass will follow. Right. Because, I mean, that's the truth, right? I know it was from a song, but I know it's free your mind and your body will follow, right? But the rest will follow. But I love that she said that, free your mind and your ass will follow, right? Yeah. Because, I mean, you kind of have to do that. We have to get that stuff out. And the only way you can, we're going back to the chakra points again. The only way, you have to go within. Peter said that you have to go within yourself and figure out what it feels like, what is missing, what your body will tell you. When something's wrong if you're in tune with your body, if you're paying attention. The pain body will say its job is to say.
I just wanted to share this really quick. I pulled up one of the Reiki affirmations that, as you know, Leo, or anybody else out there is a Reiki master teacher. The affirmations, how you begin your day, the energy that you begin your day with sets the day, sets your energy for everybody else you come in contact with, everything else you do. And it's just this simple. And it is just for today. Remember, just one thing, just for today, I will not worry. Yes. I will not be angry. I will do my work honestly. I will give thanks for my many blessings. I will be kind to my neighbor and all living things. I wanted to pull that up really quick. I wanted to share it because it is just that simple, you guys. It's not a huge thing. And it's just
No,
Little thing.
just one.
But it's interesting because I consider every interaction that I have every day a mirror exercise. So really what I tend to do for myself is I say, how am I reacting? I do my absolute best to follow the Reiki principles. But today, when I was driving home, because I knew I had a client and then I was going to getting on this live, and I was already thinking about, I wasn't in present. I was already someplace else. And this one woman, for some reason, had decided that she wanted to be in my spot. It was like she was driving the car and she wanted to be in my spot. And a few very unkind things came out of my mouth. And I was like, but does it really matter? And I think that comes down to the question is, in the great grand scheme of things today, will this interaction be the death of me or just the death of my shadow? Will this allow me to have a moment of peace and clarity by not doing the worrying, the reacting, not living in present time, not being kind to strangers or every living being, not doing my work honestly? And my work every day is to work on shadow. I think it's everybody's job is to work on their own shadow.
Agreed.
And that's just part of my philosophy. That's how I tend to live my day. But it was interesting. I caught myself in that moment. And then there was a person who, she was not driving well to begin with. And I said, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Where'd you get your driver's license? Like, I'm telling you the things that were coming out of my mouth. And I was like, and then there was a few expletives that probably came out of my mouth because she didn't know what a yield sign was. And I was like, wow. And then I thought to myself, really, in the great grand scheme of things, was it that important that I gunned my car to get in front of her? Really? Did that make a difference? No, it didn't. But in that instant, because we all live in shadow, 90% of the time, our shadow is the first thing that's always out there. It's the ego. It's the thing that keeps us safe. It's the mechanism. It's the automatic response that we have. That is the first thing that comes forward. So as we're doing the shadow work and we start to repair the damage that we have, and we do have damage. Any human being who's been on this planet for more than 10 minutes has damage. Then as soon as you start to say, okay, is this a big deal? Is this a BFD? Is this going to make my life completely untenable? And that's when you start to realize that the Reiki principles of allowing the energetics to come through start to heal the heart.
Yeah,
absolutely. Just let it flow.
Well, the moment you get angry, you lower your own vibrations, not the other person's vibration. It's you're only lowering yourself. You're only hurting yourself through anger.
Right.
The moment you get upset and start swearing and all that stuff,
be angry. You have to choose
the vibrations
to
is going down.
That, right? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Peter. I was just trying to add to that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, the basest vibrations are going to be, shame, guilt, anger. You can look at the book that was created, and the man said, once you get to 500, which is love, you want to try to live in 500, love and above. But there are things like worry and guilt and shame and anger, and even trying to feel enlightened. Sometimes it's the feelings, not the facts, and you're like putting yourself through the thing. And I am a big proponent of doing shadow work because to me, it's the only way to be in true alignment is to say, who is reacting right now? Is this my highest and best good reacting, or is this my ego, which is the shadow? You can't control what's underneath. You can't control that, subconscious, because that subconscious is programmed. But
Right.
what you can start to do is you can start to become honest with your subconscious and say, really, is that the most important thing you should be doing at this point in time? Telling this woman to go do terrible things with large objects. I mean, really, was that the most important thing at that moment in time?
Right.
No, it probably wasn't. And whatever was going on, but my state changed immediately because I realized that I was in a state of reaction. And when I took that back and got the out of my action and
Yeah.
started to feel more whole and say, okay, is it a big deal? No, I healed. I healed that moment in time.
Absolutely. I wanted to share this quote. I know many of us here and probably in the audience have read or at least heard of Joseph Campbell. And I want to give a shout out. Today is National Book Day. Read those books. Keep your local library going. It's free. They are there. They have great books. They have audio. They have movies. All of it is free. Library, books. Yay. Don't lose them. Love the smell of books. Love the smell
I
of
love
books.
the smell of books.
Yes.
But I
Yes.
just wanted to share this quote by Joseph Campbell. And the quote is, "The dark night of the soul comes just before revelation, when everything is lost and all seems at its darkest. Then comes the new life, light, and all that is needed." I just wanted to share that because, we did touch a little bit yesterday in regards to sometimes we all feel alone. Sometimes we all feel lost and not
Right.
cared for. And, it's just a reminder that we all go through the darkness. And by supporting and being there for each other, we can make it through. And remember, you gotta crack before the light shines through. Just saying.
Right.
Yeah.
That's sort of the parable.
Well,
People don't realize the parable of Humpty
that's
Dumpty
interesting.
Right.
is that. Right. So I'm putting this back up on the screen because we now kind of segued into it. That's why I have the National Suicide Hotline back up on the screen again today. Denise said, someone I know took his life yesterday. I was feeling so sad and down, taking this pain all on myself. Then I remembered to just stop and pray for the family and move on, not being uncaring. But this is something that I couldn't do anything about. So, but the realization is there. You still feel sad for this person. It's horrible that this person took their life. That happens a lot, on this planet. We have that as a problem because of how hard it is to live here. Like Kathy said, if you've been here for 10 minutes, first thing that happens, you get off the flight. The first thing they do is start beating you up. Right here, you're going to need this. This is all bad stuff. This is part of you have to have that here. You'll need a raincoat too, because you're going to get shit on and rained on, right? So, I mean, the truth is it's really, really hard. And we talked about this yesterday, and that's why I put this up on the screen yesterday, put it back up on the screen today. Even if you guys out there aren't, if there's someone who's in our audience who is thinking about that, please call and get help. But if you're not, and you know someone who you think, write this number down. This is, if you're in the United States, this is the national telephone number. You can call if it's not you, but you know someone, you can call and talk to someone and say, how do I deal with this? What do I do? They'll help you as well, and they'll give you resources to help you understand and maybe learn. We talked about how one little teeny good thing that you can do for someone, sometimes you don't know what's happening, and it changes the course of their life. I gave a personal example of that happening, and that was a true story. That if I had his permission, I would have his name or have him on the show to have him tell the story. But I haven't talked to him to ask him if I can do that. So sometimes we don't know that one little thing we do changes someone else, right? So it's important to do that stuff because we don't know what effect we have. We do know that when we do something wrong or evil or mean, look at Kathy and her experience driving. Somebody cut her off and or somebody had to be in her spot, and that triggered her, and she went, "Wait, what am I doing?" Right? But the first thing that happened was all the triggers that we have pre-programmed that happens from childbirth until we figure it out, until we realize it and stop it. Right? Marie Osmond said on a show one day that her mother said to her, "We spend the second half of our lives repairing all the shit they did to us in the first half."
Yeah.
Right. So, in a sense, whenever you discover that, whatever age you are, when you discover that. That from that point on is the beginning of your healing for the rest of your journey, because we're never, I said this just the other day, I was talking to Virginia and I said, if I was perfect, I would have a halo and wings and I wouldn't be having this conversation with you because I'd be flying around in heaven. Right? Or wherever. Right? Because I'm not tells you that I'm still a work in progress like everybody else. Right? The only difference between me or anybody else is I'm working on my stuff. And some other people aren't out there in the world. Some of you are. So we're all in the same boat. I'm rowing over here next to Snorri, or maybe I'm Snorri, right? Everybody take an oar and watch the kid up front when he hits the drum. We all go row, row. That's how we get out of this place. We all row together, right?
Yeah. How would you guys? This is a question for the panel. Of suggesting to someone on them working on their shadow work, like where to begin?
Let's go around the table. Let's do that. Let's spend some time on that. I like that idea, right? Let's start with, okay, since I'm here, let's start with Peter on the end, right? And then we'll go with you girls, right? And then I'll go Peter and I'll go Casey, Jamie, and then we'll go Kathy, Virginia. And then if there's anything left that I think I need to add, I will. If not, we'll go to the next question, right? So Peter, you answer that. What's your take on that first? Let's go around the horn. Actually, Casey,
for me, the first thing,
question, Casey, we'll have you go just before me. Is that okay? Because you brought up the question, so we'll go.
Yeah,
Peter,
I just thought that it would be really good to
you, and then if there's anything left, okay.
Thing is, for me, to start the whole process, you have to do acknowledgement. You have to acknowledge that there's a certain problem. Before you don't do that acknowledgement, what are you going to work on? You don't know what you're working on. You have to own up and say, listen, there's a problem. I need to go inside. I need to do some shadow work. I need to sort certain things out. And then you have to be big enough to acknowledge that there's a problem. I can only heal or sort out the problem or whatever if I acknowledge that there's a problem. So for me, that's the point to start from. Whatever you do, you first have to acknowledge that there is even a problem, or that you have to do certain things about it or sort it out. So for me personally, it starts with acknowledgement of whatever issue it is, or what I did wrong, or what I didn't do, or whatever. But for me personally, it starts with acknowledgement.
Agreed, right? So acknowledgement would be something that Peter would work on, and that is also that's good advice for everybody else, right? Let's go to Jamie. Jamie, what's your take? Would you
Yes.
say personally you do, or is there any advice you have for people out there?
No, I just blame everybody else.
And the truth will set you
did it to me,
free.
man.
No, I totally agree with Peter. It starts off with acceptance, but then now I need, but now there's another step to that, right? Because I can accept that, and that's as far as I get, right? So now I got to take action, right? So like if I hurt somebody's feelings, I got to have a follow through of how am I going to apologize? How am I going to make a wrong a right? To look at my part, and then or even the opposite of like not thinking of that I'm the victim. Do you know what I mean? And thinking that everybody owes me something. So it's like it's that balancing act, but it is going within to look at your part. And then what will happen, or for me, what happens is I start to see a pattern. And I'm like, oh my God, I keep stepping on the toes of others. And I think that that's what the energy of work of other people, right? Other humans, they're stepping on our toes so we can have a chance to look at our stuff. And then, because it's great that if you want to just walk around like your head in the clouds, but I got to be down to right size. You know what I mean? To be kind of permeated here. Do you, like it expands my growth if I'm learning, you know, but if I'm above, not above everybody, but if my head is in the clouds, I can't really learn anything or look at anything.
Take the blinders off. You have to be willing to take the blinders off. You know, no more of this. If I don't see it, it's not happening. Right? Take the blinders off. See it.
Yep, that's exactly it. Okay, next.
All right, so let's go to. It's like, okay, next, I'm done. Right?
I'm done.
I'm done. I put it back in there.
And Christine.
Yes. Queen Christine. That's me.
Christine. Sorry, I said Kathy. Christine.
That's okay. It must be my alter ego. I reminded you of a Kathy.
Maybe. I don't know. I apologize for that.
That's okay. As long as you don't call me bad names, I'm good.
Right?
That was Kathy. Apparently, is my shadow. So.
Right. Maybe it's deeper than that. Maybe in a past life we talked about that. Maybe in a past life you were a Kathy, or I was a Kathy. Right? Somehow it's associated, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, in this day and age, being Kathy is not something you want to be, though. That's the only thing. And I think that's.
I wasn't going to go there, but I thought, Kathy.
It depends on where you are, because some people say Karen, and then it depends on what country you're in. Because over in the UK, I think they say Kathy. In America, they say Karen. Right?
They're Karens, they're Kathys. Yeah.
Hold on. Speaking of Karen is in the green room. I'm going to bring Karen in.
Karen. Karen's in the house.
Right?
Exactly.
Hello, sister dear.
Karen up to speed as to what we're talking about, right? And then we'll have her interject her into the mix as well, right? So,
well, she probably should get up to speed.
Yeah, right? We're talking, Karen. We're talking about shadow work and how to help people to start their shadow work. Of how to kind of, you know, Peter had brought up acknowledging things, and Jamie had pointed out, you know, kind of taking responsibility and not always pointing the finger at someone else. I think, you know, for me, what kind of I notice when I start to have judgment of other people, and I say, okay, why am I judging this situation? And then I take it back on myself and I say, what is it with me that is, you know, having the issue with this? Because they're on their own path. They're doing their own thing. You know, their journey is different than mine. And so, and I'm not a judgmental person per se, but we all have judgments, you know, and things that catch us. And so I think for me, of noticing those things, or when I do get triggered, of going, wait a minute, I just got really pissed off just like that.
The mirror.
Where did that come from?
Right.
And
the mirror.
Turning it back around and saying, where does that come from, Cassie? Where are you bringing that up from?
And sometimes you find too that it's a part of you that haven't healed us yet.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, and because of that part of you haven't healed us yet, it will always show up in someone else or something.
Yes.
Until you heal that part of you.
Absolutely.
Then is when you get over that situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's like that mirror telling you, like, hey, look at this. Look at this. It's reflecting back on you that you need to look at this.
Should we go back over to Christine so she can?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Christine, you can start, right?
Yeah.
That's okay. Christine, I have nothing to add to this conversation. I have no shadow. My shadow is completely healed, damn it.
I am absolutely perfect in every way.
In fact, I feel like I have wings sprouting right now.
You know, it's very interesting because people tend to feel very attacked when their shadow gets activated, because it's like the shadow part is very much the ego that's trying to protect them. And then you go backwards again and you say to yourself, what part of my childhood didn't feel safe? What is this activating the unsafe part? The feeling I'm losing the love of my parents, the feeling that I'm losing myself, my grip, my safety, my sanity, and then start to look at that. I've always loved shadow work, and I was very big into Jungian psychology, because I thought Freud was a wacko, and he
Freud was a
had
wacko.
issues beyond
He had
issues.
issues, right? I mean, he
That
had
that
the
You.
boy
Oedipus
he
complex
needed
that
some
he invented,
shadow
right?
work.
I
I'm
mean,
Yeah.
just
let's be
saying,
serious.
Jung
Yeah.
should have probably said, you know what, here's a free 30-minute. Come on in and talk to me.
Right, Freud. Yeah, Freud. Come here for a minute. I need to talk to you about this shadow thing. You're ignoring, buddy.
You're ignoring some stuff. So I just kind of felt in my healing that if you allow yourself to sit with yourself in your deepest, darkest fear moments, or your deepest, darkest anger or sadness, it all comes down to the same thing. Why am I not safe? What is this triggering in my soul that makes me feel unsafe? And then as soon as that happens and that opens up another chapter, you can say, oh, interesting. I didn't feel safe because my mother left me someplace. Everybody doesn't have to have a huge traumatic experience. I mean, obviously, a lot of people who do this work have come from very deep, wounded spaces. But even just having, friends not coming to your doorstep to play with you is a wound. And those wounds start to accumulate, and then you start to look for, if the situation in the next time, oh, I'm not lovable. My friends didn't ask me to play, I'm not lovable. And then you go to the next level and say, well, let's find a relationship that proves to me that I'm totally unlovable. Or let's find a job that gives me the unlovability, or it just like pushes that wound. So it's like that to
You
me
get
is
victim
the deepest
mentality.
part of the shadow work.
Right. What's that you said,
I
Peter?
was just saying you get victim mentality quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When you start feeling sorry for yourself, the next step is it's your victim.
Yeah.
Everything that happens to you, the victim, you're the victim, you're the victim. And victim mentality is a killer. It's an absolute killer.
Yeah, that's the
You have to
ego
get that part, you have
talking
to
to
sort
you,
that really quickly.
right?
And so many people live in victim. I mean, victim, unfortunately, is the natural state of being. If you've ever talked to anybody who starts a
Yeah.
conversation that says, oh, they, oh, that, oh,
Yep.
those things, it's like,
Right.
whoa, you're already in victim. So you need to actually pull yourself actually even out of that state, that shadow of that outside is creating my wound, instead of saying to yourself, I am pushing my wound forward and you're just showing me. So now we're right back to the mirror. It's mirroring exactly what I expect to see. I expect you to treat me like crap. I expect you to take away my sovereignty. I expect you to take my ability to feed my family. And then what's even more insidious is it's like you've got people who are in shadow. You've got people who know how to push shadow, and then you've got communication of shadow. And it's like, now you have this perfect Michigan broth of, crap.
Yeah, of yuck.
Yeah, of
Yuck.
yuck. And
Yeah.
nobody knows how to get out of that, because it's like, oh, I turn around and the world's crap, and my life is crap, and this is crap. That's when the gratitude has to come back to your, I'm grateful for the air I breathe. You have to almost go back to the basic part to say, where is the grace? One of the best books I ever read is talking about the grace of St. Paul, and how he was a tax collector and had created this he was a persecutor of the sect that he eventually led, and had a
Right.
awakening that he could not continue to do what he was doing. And that was his grace. His grace was his leaving of that huge shadow that he carried with him of, I was
Yeah.
just doing it based for the state. And he left a great life. I mean, people
Yeah.
would be like, "Oh my God!" You know, tax collectors in the day made it. They were
Made
the
a lot of money.
politicians of today.
Yep. Yep.
But
Yep.
what a beautiful awakening of change in his soul to see that huge shadow just go.
Right.
And some people have to have that, you know, Kensho or the Satori moment of hit the wall and everything goes to shit. But
Right.
most of us spend 50 years or 40 years or 30 years being in a daily grind of, oh, okay, well, I guess I can sustain this. Turn up the knob one more dial. You know, if you think about it, that pot analogy with the frog, and you're sitting there and you're like, oh, okay, well, it's a little warmer today, but I can still sustain it. And then eventually you boil up because the water boils.
Yeah. Right. And then it's too late because you're in it, and you didn't realize that it all of a sudden is dangerous to your health because it sneaks up on you, right? Until all of a sudden you're like, wait, I'm dying. Oh, I'm dead. You know, because
Yeah.
you're boiling, and at that point it's over, right? So that we have to become aware of that early, right? And here I'm talking out of turn. Okay, Virginia. Right? I'm talking out of turn. I said I would shut up until everybody had to speak, right? So here I go, starting again. So Virginia, same thing with the shadow work and you know, what exactly do you have for someone, you know, advice, or what do you do that that helps you to understand that and deal with it or move forward from that place?
Right. Yeah, right. Well, for me, I'm actually, you know, I had mentioned yesterday, I am not a Sunday church goer. I have my own thoughts on certain organized religions. Um, when I say religions, meaning those who preach in the buildings and call themselves the teacher, um, the sharer of God's word. So to each his own. And I am a witch. I have always been open that I'm a witch. But that doesn't mean that I don't believe in God. That doesn't mean that I don't believe in angels and spirit guides. And just a little background on my shadow is I have had gifts and abilities since I was very young, my whole life. And when people are constantly telling you, I mean, for instance, those that have seen the movie Practical Magic, um, those girls, they grew up with the whole community being against them and against their family and against their aunts. And a lot of times people have their own shadow work to do, and they're living in fear. And their situation is they don't understand. And a lot of times we fear what we do not know, but we refuse to humble ourselves to ask questions. And that's where the poison is. That's where the problem lies. And I was called many things, not very nice things from a very young age, because I do communicate with the dead. I do speak with spirit. I do receive messages from spirit guides, angels, whatever name you want to go ahead and give. Energies of Gaia Mother Earth, the earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. This is what I work with, and this is what I believe. But I've caught a lot of flack over my lifetime because of it. And, you know, as a young person, you go to school. I mean, you know, granted, it's been a while since I've been a young person in school, but I'm assuming it's pretty much the same in that what group is the easiest group to fall into? The easiest group to fall into when you're in school is the group of, I don't give a shit. Nobody cares about me. Nobody loves me. I'm a latchkey kid. Nobody asks me how my day was. I'm going to rebel. I'm going to do drugs. I'm going to drink. I'm going to cut classes, and I'm going to do whatever the frack I want. And it is the easiest group to fall into shadow, because shadow loves numbers. And the more numbers there are in shadow, the more shadow feels, or if you want to call it adversary, negativity, it feeds on that. And that's where we fall into I call it the habit, because we are programmed, like we've said, the news, social media, the paper, our neighbors, sometimes our family who don't agree with the way we live or the way that we think. And we start falling more into that scenario of dark shadow. Well, with me, I put on my armor every day. Boy, the first thing I did was I was suiting up, man. I got my armor on, I got my battle gear. Nobody's going to penetrate this wall. Nobody's going to get in to hurt my heart anymore. I don't care what you say about me. I don't care your judgment. You're not going to get in here. And I became angry. I became aggressive. I became self-destructive, because this is what I thought. Talk about Viking mentality. And that was, I'm going to kill you long before you get a chance to get to me. And, I don't get me wrong. I am of the Norse Viking descent as well, very Celt here. So I love you guys. I love you guys. I love my peeps. But, let's face it, back in the day, there's a reason why all the stories are about killing, plundering, destruction. But they were also very smart and very creative. So, let's give kudos where kudos is due. I digress, and I'm going to come back now. So with that said, for my own personal darkness and shadow work, the hardest thing for me to do was to take off that armor, was to take off my battle gear, to let down those walls. Because when you make yourself open and vulnerable, one, you're opening yourself up to all the destructive things, all the hurtful things that people can and will throw at you. And a lot of times it is test of shadow. It is test of adversary. And once you can take off the armor, let the walls down, then the next step for me was open my heart. I do need help. I do need guidance. I do need friendship. I do need family, because I was so determined the way that my life was. And, not everything was Jim Dandy and super swell. You feel you need to be independent. I need to be independent. I need to be strong. I need to, especially in certain jobs that I held, it was and still is a man's world in certain industries. And so you feel you can't be vulnerable. You can't show love, because you're going to be judged, and they're going to get in there and they're just going to hurt, mess you up. So, but what I learned by being vulnerable and being open is that right there, my friends, is where the strength lies. You can put on all the armor you want. You can have all the battle gear and all the weapons that you think, oh, I've got this. Oh, I'm taking you down. Mm-mm. True, honest to God, goddess strength comes from within. And when you get to the point that you love yourself so much that no matter what anybody else says, no matter what anybody else throws at you or thinks about you or does to you or tries to throw at, you've got it. You've got it, because every tool, every bit of strength, every lesson learned, every scar physically, emotionally, spiritually, it makes you stronger. But the only way to realize that you've got that light, that you've got that strength, is to be vulnerable, to be willing to look at yourself in the mirror and to look at the conversations like we just said. When someone is saying, nah, 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 whatever that is, look at it and say, wait, why is this making me react? Why is this making me feel this way? Oh, okay. I thought I dealt with that. I didn't.
Trigger.
And it's
Trigger.
okay. Right.
Yep.
Trigger. It's okay to go back. You know, sometimes we think, oh, took care of that, file closed, all done.
And
Sometimes
then it pops back up.
stuff is going to
Yeah.
come right back at you, and that's what it's for. And really quick, I know I'm kind of dominating here, but as a
It's okay.
psychic,
We own the show, so it doesn't matter how long we go. Go ahead.
as a psychic medium, I wanted to point out also, you know, we can use our gifts and abilities, whatever that may be, whether you are a minister, whether you are a tarot, oracle card reader, if you do pendulum, if you do ruin, whatever type of healer and gifts and abilities that you have, we can work with you. And I never say I'm a teacher. I don't want to be a teacher. I want to walk hand in hand with you, first of all, because this is your experience. This is your journey, and it's going to be different for every single one of us. But I will say, if you reach out to a minister, to a psychic medium, to whatever, if you are not willing to hear the message, nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to be
Agreed.
different.
Exactly.
Because
100%.
You can't be picky about what you want and what you don't want.
right. I mean, you know, in being a psychic medium, I get a lot from ancestor. I get a lot from just energies that walk through. You know, people say spirit, people say ghost, whatever term, energy, whatever. But if you're not willing to listen and hear what they're trying to share with you from the other side, from their experience of here and now, then and before, what will be, what will come, it's not going to change anything just because we give you the message. You have to be willing
Exactly.
to hear it.
Right.
I'm done.
You're not always
gonna
going to
bring-
get the message you
I'm
want.
going to bring Mike on. Mike's been he's been in the
Oh.
green room for about
Oh,
10
awesome.
minutes. Right?
Awesome.
But I didn't want to bring him. I didn't want to bring him on
Um,
while you were talking, because then all of a sudden the new guy pops up and the crowd's going to go, "What just happened? Where's that new guy? Who is he?" There's no introduction, right? So I'm going to bring on Mike de la Pena. He's from Brazil. He's from America, but he lives in Brazil. And you'll see that he has his Pena perspective, because he does his own show, the Pena Perspective. But he's also one of my cohorts and co-creators of Skull Island, the podcast that we do on Wednesday. So I'm going to bring Mike on board. And Mike's also a minister. He doesn't have I don't think he has his title yet. He hasn't got his credentials, but he has all of the knowledge and the background and the learning. He just needs to get his little license, the paperwork that everybody's paper driven, that says that he's okay with all the knowledge he already knows. Right?
Yeah,
So,
it's all those.
again, welcome, my
And
brother.
he has got a hell of a
Welcome.
lot of knowledge.
It's all the
No,
that documentation is so necessary, right? We have to have the documents to prove
The
what we know.
documentation with some
Nobody otherwise-
guy's signature on it that says you know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Right?
sorry, I'm not Merlin. I'm not a Knights Templar. I haven't. No, I'm not a Wiccan, and I don't talk to the dead. So there's nothing really strange or odd about me, other than the fact that
Strange or
Actually-
odd. Strange or odd. I love those words. I just talked about that. Strange or odd.
Odd.
Mhm.
which means something. Well, there is a
How
lot
about
odd about me.
different? How about gifted? How about those are good things. That
Well,
sounds
see,
better.
there's I am been the odd man out my entire life, just because I grew up in two different cultures at the same time, and I've been living half my life, the last 25 years, in a culture that was supposedly similar, but there are these details that just, ooh, no. Every culture is their own, and after a while, you I was raised in two at the same time, and I was always living in different family members' homes. This uncle, that great uncle, this other uncle. My grandfather had 12 brothers and 10 brothers and sisters. My great uncle had what, I guess 12 kids. And so the family was huge. And, all the other brothers and sisters had a minimum of 5. So, yeah, the family was huge. And I always had to deal with all these different mentalities and all these different mindsets and all these ways of seeing the world. And that was just in Mexico City. And then I'd go to the farm in Oklahoma. And, yeah, just a little bit different. The largest city on the planet,
right.
is a town that's 12,000, and one. And if somebody was born, they'd throw somebody out of town to make sure that it stayed 12,001. A very small farming community. Everybody knew what color shit you had the day before because, everybody knows because there's nothing to do other than just figure out what somebody else's fucking life is doing. But that's where my grandmother, she was a Sunday school teacher, and she's the one that told me about Revelation when I was 7 or 8 years old. And I have been studying for and preparing for the apocalypse, the mark of the beast, and one world government, and control over our individuality, and one system that wants to take away our universal soul. And so that is something for the last 43 years I've been working on. Now, supposedly, I graduated international business and I have a master's in economics, and so I'm supposed to know how all this shit works, and I do, and it's scary as fuck because you realize that in the end, it's all about emotions, manipulation, and none of it is fucking real. None of it is mathematically provable. I was making holograms in high school in physics class, AP physics class, when I was 17 years old. And so that also lets you know that the reality that we see isn't as real as the reality we think it is. And then I got into quantum mechanics and the Heisenberg uncertainty principle and, the Schumann, the Schumann resonance is a big one as well. And later on, whenever we get into Nikola Tesla and figure out that everything
I
is
love
resonant.
that. I talked about it yesterday. I love
In
the
the Schumann
fact that
resonance,
it's one of those little tricks that the universe played, because the person who invented and discovered the vibration of the entire human race was last name is Schumann, which I thought was a great play on words for everybody to know, right? The Schumann resonance is in fact the recording of the human resonance in vibration collectively on the planet. I love
that
that.
is
Human.
that would be very bizarre because
Yeah.
technically that was somebody had asked him a question of what, because he was talking about in his MIT class about what different resonance frequencies and inside bouncing areas and that sort of thing. You can measure the frequency and resonance within certain compact areas. And then one of the students asked him a question about what would be the resonance of the Earth, because you've got an outer bound atmosphere and then you've got the ground. And so he's like, well, that's a good idea. Go ahead and use it as a homework assignment. And everybody figured it out.
Hold on a second. Looks like Peter's here. Peter, say something and see if your microphone's working.
Hello.
Hey, Peter
Yeah,
made
it's
it
working.
from Ireland. He doesn't have a camera, but he's got the microphone,
I've got
guys.
the camera, but I have to figure out how to face it in towards me, but keeps facing outwards. I haven't figured out that. Jesus, technology.
There's a little button that has a camera that's got a little circle in the middle of it. That's usually the flip camera button.
Yeah, and it'll turn it around to face in instead of out.
Yeah, and it's not doing it. So
that's all right. Go without your camera. Who cares? These people
That's
can hear
not-
you. Guys, this is Peter.
That's
We were
the important
talking
thing.
about him earlier. Peter in Ireland, who hasn't been on the air for almost a couple of years because his phone didn't work right. And they got his phone working to actually get him to be able to come on air with us so he can actually talk. We can't see him right now, but we can hear him. So, Peter, welcome, my brother from Ireland. Peter's over in Ireland. This
so
Peter,
glad you're here, Peter.
Yeah, I'm glad to see him.
Yay! You
there
got
he
the camera
is.
going. Nice, Peter. Congratulations.
Right, let's get
Well,
him up.
Yay, Peter's here. Peter's here.
Yay.
Yay!
Yay.
It's awkward holding the camera like this. I can't see ye. So,
yeah, that's all right. You can always turn it off and flip it back around if you want it. Right now, if you looked on your camera, you're just seeing yourself anyway. I have you up on the screen full. So,
that's no problems at all. Perfect. Right.
Right. So we're
I'll go back to
asking
the
the question
microphone.
that we asked. You might have missed that. The question that we're talking about is for. I'm going to put you back on the whole screen, then I'll pop you back up on the full screen again. The question was asked by Casey earlier about people who are just learning what we should do. If you have any advice for people to start working on the shadow work to better yourself. So do you have any advice, or do you have anything that you do personally to work on shadow work, or to keep yourself, because you know how everything pops up all the time, and it keeps us in a lower vibration. So what kind of advice do you have for everyone? And I have to figure out why my phone's ringing. So Peter, please take it away. And then Peter ran away. So, I'm going to let my phone go to
He's
the
calling
voicemail
you at
over
the
here.
moment. That's
Oh, there he is.
probably going on.
3 more and we have a coven.
I know, right? I know what's up with that, right? You know what I want to point out? I want to point out something that you guys didn't get to see, because I had Virginia up on full screen. When she was talking, she mentioned being a Wiccan and very witchy. And I wish at that point I had the camera on Miss Queenie, because her reaction was so classic. She was pumping her fists and everything at the time, and I was like, "Oh, I wish I would have saw that." And I, to click a quick go to camera 7, but I couldn't get there fast enough. But I wanted to point that out, that her reaction was so classic. She was so happy. She was giddy. That Virginia brought that up, and that she was being very witchy, and I had to bring that up for you. I thought that was
not to prove that I'm just I've got my little anthane here, and I'm sitting here doing I've got my little witches, and my witch is not here as I'm burning that, and sending blessings to all you, because it's just what I do
as well off camera. Again, when we had the camera on someone else, and you had, it looked like there was some sage you had there. You were doing some smudging.
I have my sage.
Yeah.
I have my Palo Santo.
I saw
Depends
that
on what we're talking about.
Right.
Love.
Yeah, I saw that she was going through all of that, and I couldn't bring her up on the camera, because had I done that, it would have been rude for Virginia, who was talking at the time. But I was like, oh, I would love to click over to that so y'all could see that. But unfortunately, it's there, and you can see she has the tools, right? I was going to say, and there's a dagger coming out, right?
Yeah, and I used that to put the symbols onto the candle that Cassie was talking about. We were talking about the blue candle ritual that happened about a week ago. And that's what I was using. And I'm like, I was being bad. I didn't put this away. And I live in a household which I call a blended household. Most people have like Jewish and Catholic family members who live together, and we celebrate our holidays. I live with a Catholic, and I am obviously Wiccan. So it's like, I have these conversations. It's like, well, I'll go to church with you because it's Easter, but can you celebrate Ostro with me?
Right.
That's my blended household that I live in. My husband's just like, every once in a while we'll have a moment like, oh God, it stinks in here. Can't you do that in the basement? I'm like, I'll make sure I bring my cauldron out for you too next time, just to get the whole effect.
Just to get the effect, right? And then do the traditional toils and toils of trouble.
Exactly. Like put an eye in there. Oh God.
The eye of Newt.
We don't live like that. Trust me.
The eye of Newt in here.
Yeah. Well, last week, I think it was last week that on Tuesday it was Peter, Top Peter, had put up about manifesting, and that it was a very powerful day, and like first one of these type of days in like 145 years or something like that. And so I, my
it's
sister
155 years.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And so I went with my sister-in-law, Missy Mackler, there in the chat, and I told her, said, let's go get some blue candles and inscribe on there, and you write down your manifestations and carved in there Saturn and Pisces and Neptune, I think it was.
Correct.
And like immediately things started manifesting for me, and I talked with Christine and I talked with Karen as well, because it was a little overwhelming. That be careful what you wish for and what you ask for, because it was like boom, and yeah, and I was
You
like,
have to be
hey,
specific.
what's going on here? This is a lot.
You have to be specific when you ask, because if you forget details, those details will be forgotten.
Yes.
And you have to be specific because it will get answered the way you ask it. So think about every fucking detail.
Yes, Michael.
And I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot about height. Oh shit, I forgot about
yeah,
I forgot about that one. Yeah, okay, yeah, I should have asked for that too.
Yeah.
All right, next time.
Right?
Yeah,
I know.
Like there's no exchange program when it comes to the universe, though. Sometimes what you get is what you got, and then you live with it. And it's like, okay, next time, let's be a little bit more specific about what we ask for.
Exactly.
And I'm not turning this
everything
into
can
a
be
pagan
done.
Wiccan thing at all. It's not intended for that.
Oh,
But
wait, did I hear pagan Wiccan? What?
yeah, baby girl, you and I'm sitting here. I got my dagger.
Nice.
You should have seen me. You should have seen me. I'm sitting here. I'm like saging everybody, and I've got my little. I'm sitting here like, my wish. Believe me, I have it all sitting out here because tomorrow when I do my live, I'm like, yeah, got my cards, everything. But the point was
my
is what
Palo
you
Santos and different. Right now, I'm doing sandalwood incense. It uplifts and replenishes the soul.
Nice.
I've got all my crystals all around, and this is my area of creating that space. Like when we do readings, or messages from spirit, doing mediumship work. All that type of stuff, and
what can I do for my lungs?
My shamanism has really been
fun.
Mike
has a question. Mike has a question. He said, "What can I do?
Lungs?
What can I do for my lungs? Anybody got any ideas?"
I started breathing heavy. I started breathing heavy yesterday, and I actually spent a good couple of hours at the hospital, and they didn't do a damn thing other than the cortisone injection and that sort of shit. So I'm trying to reduce my smoking. I've been smoking too damn much, and I will stop and everything else. But at this particular point, yeah, there are things that for example, watercress that I used to take, and propolis and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm not just the religious scientific nut job that's in normal society. I also, grew up in visiting Mayan and Aztec temples and everything else, and I've traveled, on 5 different continents.
Yeah.
I do have an open mind, which is why Leo includes me in all this, which seems to have nothing to do with what I would in my core in essence be, but I do have a very open mind, and I'm said to be slightly bright. So any ideas that I can do for my lungs, because I'm certainly...
Can I add something to that?
How's your breath work? Do you do breath work, Michael?
Not much. I was always a mouth breather because I had a deviated septum, but even afterwards, only when I'm really feeling bad, I'll breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, but really I don't do a lot of breath work. But I was raised in Mexico City, so my lungs were never a problem because they developed really fucking strong lungs. And so it was never a problem for me before. But now that I'm 50 and I've been smoking for 36 years now, but I stopped doing exercise 2.5, 3 years ago. And I know that that's a big thing because I did so much fucking exercise that it burnt everything bad that I put into my body. But that stopped. I'm getting too fucking old. And so now I need to listen to the wise sages on how I can go forward as an old man and not die.
I really want to plug, I really want to plug Positive Pineapple. They do really great breath work. They're on YouTube, they're on Facebook, but they give you, it's Positive Pineapple. And they work with breath work. They do breath work every morning, And I started, I am also a smoker. I am in the process of quitting. But that has been a very, very strong thing to be able to help me with. And even just starting with the, breathing in through the nose, smelling the flower, and breathing out through the mouth, and focusing on where your belly is.
Yeah, you guys can see my forest. I have tons of oxygen here, and I've always tried to get away from it. So yeah, I've got tons, but I just smoked. And when I started streaming and my live streams, I'm smoking 2 packs a day now because I smoke a pack during Skull Island. I'll smoke a pack during the 2 hours that I do on my own show, and that's twice a week. So, that's a lot, and I need to control that. But at the same time, there's a lot of damage that's already been done, but I want to try and heal.
Can I bring out, as someone who does more of the natural, like the kitchen witch, I'm not sure where she went, but I'm like, I'm not sure, we lost her somewhere, but anyway, the eucalyptus oil is great. If you have a metaphysical store, if you have a natural food store, whatever, eucalyptus oil is great. You could always just dab a little bit under your nose. You can put it here. You can put it on your chakra points, energy points as well.
My dad used to love putting those in the sauna because they would burn on the hot stone, and we would be in the sauna taking eucalyptus.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You can put it on the sole of your feet too.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly.
Jacqueline's here, by the way, guys. Jacqueline just popped in. She's
hey,
there.
Jacqueline. Hey.
So my favorite was ashwagandha and holy basil. Tulsi were 2 of the most magnificent oils that I found in CBD, and I was able to stop for about 5-6 days, and then I was like, no, back to smoking. But it's an innate, I see it as a prayer. You think about it, the cigarettes that we inhale, right? I had to stop and have them myself because I'm like, hey, we're done driving. So yeah, there's so many different ways that you can do it. I think really eucalyptus, any plant medicine, really, let's be frank.
Yeah, I was going to mention also, if you take fresh mint, you can get it in your grocery store, you can grow it. If you take fresh mint and you just use your mortar, if you have one of those, or your hands, just roll it around a little bit, inhale it, and boil it. Boil just plain water, fresh mint, or you can even take the oil, the eucalyptus or the mint oil, drip peppermint, put it in, and then just breathe it. You can either do the towel thing, like my mom used to have us do it with Vicks, right? Same thing. And go ahead.
Sorry, I once, when I went to Machu Picchu, and that's really high up, and I thought I could handle altitude being in Mexico City, but Machu Picchu is a whole nother thing, and Cusco is a whole nother level, right? And so you get there to the airport in Cusco, and they have their coca tea, and that sort of helps. And you have to lie down in bed for about 2-3 hours in order for your body to equilibrate and that sort of thing. But as you're walking up that trail to Machu Picchu, we had our guide. Yes, obviously he was always chewing on the coca leaves. But I was feeling hard of breath at one point, and so he reaches over on one corner of the path, grabs these leaves, and then reaches over on the other corner of the path because he saw another bunch of smaller leaves that looked like they had smaller white flowers or something. Then he mashed them up in his hand, mashed them all together, and now said, here, breathe this. I'm like, what the fuck? A couple of leaves he found on it. Boom. My lungs opened up. I could actually breathe, and we continued on for, another 1.5 miles before I could feel a damn thing. For the life of me, I don't remember what both of those weeds were, and I would love to because the effect was instantaneous, and my lungs opened up in a way that I have never before or since felt. So if any of you know what that Peruvian guide picked up off the fucking ground in the wild weeds, let me fucking know.
I don't know what that was. I would have to look, but I do want to say, a lot of us have different issues of autoimmune or diabetes, thyroid, whatever it may be. Never be opposed to incorporate Eastern medicine, natural medicine with Western medicine. Or in some instances, you can eliminate the Western altogether. I'm just saying, keep it as an option because there's so much out there that
Oh,
grows.
the Western's all full of shit. The Western completely does symptoms and it doesn't cure a fucking thing.
Band-Aids.
Yes,
Band-Aids.
I'm glad that I actually have some of the best medical care that there is in Brazil because my wife has excellent health care through her company and that sort of thing. And I came from the U.S. I didn't like healthcare because it was too damn expensive, but I got down here. I have used the healthcare system and I've gone to that hospital more than anybody else in the family. So there are certain things like a broken leg and dislocated joints and everything else to where it is very, very helpful. There are other things like dengue to where I didn't go to the hospital until afterwards because I was still feeling sluggish after 5 days. And the heavy breathing yesterday. There are certain things to where I go, and I even go with reticence because I will not let them incubate me because I know that the system has internal programs that are actually killing people. I can't say very much because I don't want to get this affected. So yeah, my trust with them.
The algorithm catching us.
Exactly. So there are certain things. There are certain things to where I trust them with, but on a certain level. But there are others that I know the answer is out there, and they're nowhere near the answer. In fact, they're driving us the opposite direction. The Band-Aids, you always have to be putting a Band-Aid on to a gushing wound unless you actually close the gushing wound. And so Anthony over at Positive Pineapple, I will be looking him up. So thank you very much, Cassie, for that one.
Have you tried pure lemon and ginger and honey?
I put that in the chat
because I
for those
suffer
of you
from
who are interested.
bronchitis.
The Positive
Let me just
Pineapple link on Facebook is in the chat for those of you who want to take a look at that. And Denise, who's going to be going into surgery next Friday, she was a smoker. I'll put it back up on the screen. She said she developed lung cancer and that she's going to go back in for surgery. Since 9/11, she's not so much. She's obviously stopped smoking, hopefully completely, but she's going in for surgery on next Friday. And Denise, she said, Leo, I may need to contact you for pain relief while I'm in the hospital. Please do if you need to, and know that I will send Reiki energy and healing to make sure that you had pain relief for you. You know that I would do that for you instantly. Just let me know. In fact, I will be sending energy and some Reiki calming, healing energy to help with and assist with the surgery to make sure that things go well. And then, of course, your recovery afterwards. Definitely.
Yeah. Really quick, I also want to.
So you're welcome.
Wait a second. Thank you, Jack. That's exactly what powerful medicinal plants along the Inca Trail. Thank you. Awesome. It's in the private chat. That was awesome.
Good job, Jacqueline.
Yes, thank you. And I want to throw this over to Karen a little bit as well, because Karen and her sister also often touch on these exact topics about health and healing and the importance of the connection with spirit. So Karen, you want to jump in a little bit and tell us about that?
Hi, yes. Many times the way how we have grown up, the things that we have taught, it's not the way how the ancient times would do things. And because of that, you find that the foods that we are eating at this point in time, many of them are so processed and they're really not good for our health. Many times it's very quick for us to go to the go-to foods, but they're not good for us. And we need to kind of like go back to a more organic eating. And it may be expensive for a lot of people, but look at your health. When you tend to go to the foods that are not organic and processed, that is destroying your body. And when your body is being destroyed, look at the amount of money that you have to pay the doctors. And the doctors don't really help you. Kudos to the doctors. But all that they're doing, they're just putting a Band-Aid over something that's underneath there. And it just keeps growing all the time. But when you step back, look at your health, look at it at the organic aspect and start to eat organic foods, you find that you will see that your gut is going to start to take that change. And once your gut start to take that change, you'll see a difference in your health. So it's very important what we put into our bodies. That is so important. And we tend to not realize that until we get sick. Then we realize, oh my God, how did I get sick? But it's the things that you're eating. So once you look at your diet and what you're feeding into your body, you will see so much difference happening in your health, because you won't have to take a pill for anything. When you go to the doctor, the first thing they give to you is the pill. Take this pill. And when you take that pill and you go back, that pill affects something else. And when you go back, oh, take this other pill, and you become a drugstore. You just become a drugstore for them. And a lot of times what normally happen, I don't want to say certain things, but is the higher ones, they push it to them and then they push it to you. So you become the mule. Yep. You become the mule for them, right?
The guinea pig.
The guinea pig. On you all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So we need to go back to the plant base, which is very, very essential for our health at this point in time. And that is what is going to help us with our health. It is so important. I cannot preach that enough to people. It is so important to go back to that plant base. Watch where you're eating. Watch what you're putting into your mouth. If you go to a store and you cannot read that label, don't buy it.
Yes.
If you can't read a label, why would you buy that?
Especially if you don't understand what's in it.
Exactly.
If you have no idea.
Right.
And that's what it came back to from my own experience, because I kept feeling the cries of the animals when I'd walk through the meat. The empathy within me was like, oh my God, I can't. I'd had to, for a long time, have people buy the meat for me and then bless it, because all of these things, even some of the organic or things like that, we've really got to listen to the body, because the body will tell you what you need. Like if you need more raw veggies, or if you need a little bit more protein, or whatever your diet is, you will intuitively know, because you have that intelligence within you. You have that intelligence that's like, hey, by the way, you need some of this. Like, I'll give you guys an example. The divine works in so many ways. I spent $50 on lasagnas thinking, hey, quick, easy dinner at the hotel. No oven. I'm like, well, this is convenient. There's no oven. I called and said there's kitchenette. Yeah, it doesn't require an oven. I'm like, every other hotel does. But then I'm like, hey, divine, what are you showing me? It's like, you're going to spend quality time earthing and eating whatever it is that we have. If that's salads or veggies or whatever is there, it's like you just come to a deeper acceptance.
We watch all these survival shows, right? Naked and Afraid, or The Great Survivalist, all these shows. Well, what are they eating on those shows? There's not McDonald's. There's not Jack in the Box.
Right.
They are eating what is provided naturally. I'm like, wake up, people. Wake up.
And you feel so healthy. When you start to eat healthy, you feel healthy.
One of the benefits that I've had of being in Brazil for 25 years is specifically, the food. I came down to the region in the south. I mean, I'm talking about the Northeast. There's lots of places where the food is just as unhealthy as everywhere else. Mexico loves to use a lot of fried foods. And you also see that in the health and the size of the people that usually consume those things. But down here in the south where I'm at, it's a very, very German area and very Italian area just south. We've got great wines that are here as well. And the region that I'm at, they love their meat. But more than anything, everything's natural. And so since I've come down here, I fix my own food. I mean, I go down to the vegetable store or shop or whatever, and I get nice fresh vegetables. I pick them myself. I look at them and analyze them and see, if they're, healthy little vegetables. And then I get home and I, fix them up in their recipes. And I've got a limited amount of recipes, and there are other recipes in the house that get done and used and that sort of thing. But they're all completely made and at home. And I remember one of the nutritionists that I was listening to on a YouTube channel, he was saying, yeah, you can look at your salt intake and you can look at your fat intake and you can count your calories and you can do all this whenever you go into a restaurant, but know that a restaurant made the food with more sugar than they had to because people love sugar. They made it with more salt than they had to because people are addicted and their inner being craves the salt. And they fry it up more because people love the flavor of fried foods, because that's your lizard brain from 150,000 years ago telling you, I need the grease to survive. That extra energy is going to get me through these next 5 days to where I don't know what I'm going to eat. And the sugar gave you the energy to, run up that mountain to get to that well that you knew where the fresh water was coming out of in that spring that you couldn't get up there with your normal energy levels. So all these things were programmed into our lizard brain, but we don't live in that reality anymore. Or the reality from 120 years ago to where, farmers were busting their ass in the middle of the sun for 12, 14 hours a day as long as there was sun. And they got home to eat meat and potatoes because they had to replace all that energy that they burned the fuck off all day.
All those carbs, and their body weight was at the time, if they were lucky, 125, 130, because they were thin, they're lean, and because of that, they had to put that food, that carbs back in because they had burned them all off. They didn't have much reserve.
Our brain still wants that, and the marketing specialists in the restaurant business, and if they need to make money, and so they know, oh, that food tasted great. It was that comfort food that made me feel good. I'm going back there tomorrow because I want to feel good again. It's a drug. It is the only drug that Western society allows us to continue to have. So we eat as much as humanly fucking possible. We feel bad, so we dig into a jug of Haagen-Dazs. We feel sick, and so we go out and we eat that chicken fried steak, and all that fat and grease and sugar is going to make us feel better in that instant. But none of it is healthy. None of them are thinking about you. And so when we actually make the food at home, we know how much sugar we put in there. Yeah. We know how much salt we put in there. We taste the food as we're eating it because we're not producing it for somebody else to spend more money with us. We're producing it for our kids or our loved ones, and we want them to enjoy the food before also to be healthy. For step number one for you to feel better and lose all your weight is to make your food yourself, because the fact that you have to wait for an hour before you eat also means you're not shoving stuff into your face and off to the next thing beforehand and not even thinking about what you just put into your body, but processing it and knowing that it came from a good source, being grateful that it's there, being grateful that you're finally done through all the work. And even that where, oh God, I got to wash the dishes later on. But if you can get everybody to help, that's also a communal activity to where everybody's coming together. And so that's why the French and the Italians were against the fast food movement. They were creating their own slow food movement because the Italian mothers loved spending 8 hours a day in the kitchen, preparing, cleaning up, and making sure that their families, the ones that they most loved, were eating healthy and were eating together. And the time when they ate was concentrated on family, togetherness, and gratitude. Something that we don't have today. Because we're sitting in the car in the middle of traffic, you grab some burger at some goddamn window that somebody grabbed, and you're shoving that in your trough while you're screaming at the guy in front of you because you're late and he's in your fucking way. This is your damn road. He should get the hell out of the way because you got shit to do and you got somewhere to be, and you're not even thinking about what you just shoved into your body. You're not thinking about the individual in front of you or anything else. You are simply increasing the stress and acidity levels of your body. And then later on, you don't know why cancer hits you. You don't know why diabetes hits you. You don't know why you've got high blood pressure. You don't know why your heart is going, wait, I don't feel right today. I don't know why. I got to eat another fucking burger and I got to close another deal. Sorry, go ahead.
What you're saying, though, I just want to add to it because it's beautiful. When we're adding those toxicities, because I'm realizing it more every day, is our body can't actually naturally produce the ones they're meant to, like the serotonin and the so on and so forth, and all these chemicals. They're then being, like, the medical medium talks a lot about it with the heavy metal detoxing and things like that, because our brains are like literally like zapped in the middle. Like, we're not able to put certain things together or whatever it is because it starts in the gut. We were talking about this yesterday. Right? If you guys were here, of course you were, but you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yes.
Of course we were.
It's that it's your gut, your heart, your mind, your soul, your whatever you connect to. For me, it's my central Universal and my Galactica. Like, well, where am I spinning today? And I'm not even spinning. It's just a point of direction because it's love, unconditional love. Like, I've been up now, people, like over 36 hours, and I'm like, well, we're designed for this, yet we underestimate ourselves because we're like, yes, we get in the circadian rhythm and everything else. But when you allow the body to naturally just flow as it is, there is no, it just goes. Like I was able to drive the highway, still coherent, conscious, co-creating, right? And then living in that space, and then I can connect back to the body. And I'm like, okay, what is my body asking for in the minute? Not the pain body, but the physical body, right?
Right.
Because a lot of us are attached to that pain body. It's like the root of humanity is pain and suffering until we have that enlightened energy or that love, right? Peter was talking about it yesterday, the love. It's so simple yet so complex. That love within us, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Because like as I was explaining that to you guys, and then you guys were talking about all other stuff, the solution came, right? And that's who we are. We're solution based. And is it Denise? Reach out anytime. We will all hold space. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying collectively for myself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anything you need, anytime, anywhere. If that's just holding the space as you take those steps within your journey, just know every single one of us are here to fully support you and hold that space with you so you can have that recovery of not only your true nature, but the design of who you naturally are. Oh, I get so passionate.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
We're all here for each other. Always.
Yeah.
Always. Always.
It's all about shut up.
Yay! Yay!
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I just associate that to such a woke symbol, and the people that generally do that are so devoid of what actually love means. So whenever people flash this thing up to me, I'm like, you programmed little shill. But that's me, and so that's part of my shadow work that I'm working on and that sort of stuff.
Well, we talked about that.
Oh, right.
We talked about how the nefarious religion has tried to take any and every symbol that is in any way associated with goodness, love, and spirit, and turn it evil by turning it into one of their symbols and trying to make it about evil, so that anyone who is caught up in that will then look at this and go, that's an Illuminati symbol. That's American Sign Language for I love you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have the pentacle tattooed on my body.
Yeah.
And every time that someone sees that, summertime at the doctor's, whatever, immediately it's, oh, you're a Satanist. And it's no, absolutely not. It's
I love telling the story. When we were younger, I was over at Virginia's house, and we went swimming in her swimming pool, and her downstairs neighbor was there with her husband. And when I was swimming, and I had my necklace on with a pentacle, not a pentagram, pentacle around my neck, and I came up out of the water in front of her, and she was standing about 6 feet from me, and she looked at me and saw the pentacle and backed away from me and said, "Oh, okay, Satan boy," and was backing away from me in fear. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I realized, I said, "This is a pentacle, not a pentagram." Those guys in that religion took this symbol and turned it upside down and said, "We're making it this because we're anti that." Just like they did the cross. I said, this is completely the opposite of what you think it is, but people don't know the difference between the two. And that's what Virginia was talking about.
Yeah, and
right?
just to
sharing that
clarify,
knowledge.
To clarify, it's the symbol for earth, air, fire, water, and spirit.
Right.
And the circle is what makes it a pentacle versus a pentagram.
Well, the pentagram is the five-sided star with a point up is the pentacle. They flipped it upside down, so the point is down, and you have the two sides up, and that's where they put the goat head in there, and the horns go up, and then right, right. So
anyway, never judge a book. Never judge a book or a symbol unless you really know your stuff. Do your homework, learn, and don't be afraid to expand.
Look, it's not about the symbols that people put on their body, because I've had lots of friends with tattoos and everything else. And yes, the book that my grandma brought me up on tells me that tattoos mark us to certain things. Why? Because we basically put that thing, hey, you put your girlfriend's name on your back when you were 18 because you thought it was cool, but when you're 85, you still got that name on your back, and your great-grandchildren are asking you, who was that? I don't even fucking remember, but I can't scrape it off anymore. So, yeah, there's certain things that you got to be careful
Here's
of.
a story. This is a true story about that, Mike. My father on his left shoulder had Mom, and then he had Gaber, which was my brother who died at 6 months old, my older brother. And then he had something underneath that, and then he had something underneath that, and it was flowers and flowers, and then he had my mother's name. And I said to my father, what's this here and here? And he said, those were one was the mother of Gabriel, the other was my first wife, and then your mother. Don't ever get a woman's name tattooed on your body because you don't know how long it's going to last. And he said, so he had to cover them up because his first wife was like, who's this woman? And he's like, oh, I'll cover that. Then his second wife, my mother said, I don't want your first wife's name on there. So he had to cover that up.
Right. It's not about the symbols that are on your body. That's between you and the maker. And, one of my favorite passages is, judge not lest ye be judged. There are things. One of the reasons why I smoke and I drink and I've done all the bad habits that I have, because when I was growing up in church and I saw all those holier than thou people looking at everybody else going, what? I can't believe he's here. And I'm like, I don't want to be one of those people. So I ended up doing a lot of the fucked up shit so that I can't judge anybody. I've already done the things that people are judged for because I wanted to have a deeper understanding of what those people were going through. I wanted to know what dope smokers were going through. That's why I started doing it. I wanted to know what fucking LSD was like because everybody was telling me, oh, don't do that. That's bad. Yeah, but why? Oh, because the cops will get you. Yeah, so everything's bad because the law? Fuck you. There's something different, more deeper to that, and I always had to have an understanding. I've always had to be able to understand others. And so it's not the symbols and everything else that you tattoo on your body or mark on your body. That's between you and God, got nothing to do with me. What I read is the energy and the essence that comes off the people. Are they behaving in love? I don't care if you call yourself a Christian, but if you're hating on everybody, sorry, dude, you don't resonate with me, and I'm not going to be following what you say because you're preaching hate, not love. And so Jesus, the red words, it's all about a love, understanding. Yeah, you might not be doing something that's right. I'm not going to be following you. I'm not going to be doing what you do. I will let you know there are better ways to live, but it's up to you to do that. If you don't follow what I'm doing, that's fine. I continue on my way and I judge not.
Don't be a follower. Don't be a follower.
Be a leader.
I never have been. That's why I'm by myself, because I've never been a follower. Nobody wants to follow me, so I'm on my own.
Absolutely. That's the best way to take your journey. You need to take one step in front of the other. It's got to be your own step, right? Your own step. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And even in my journey, I have really learned because I'm a sponge for knowledge and I love learning it all. Give it to me. I want to learn the deep stuff and the meanings and those are the conversations
but that now I'm 50 and I still don't know what to do with all that shit. How do you make your life actually better? I'm still fucking broke. How the hell do I change that?
Yeah. Right? Yeah. But that you can learn, from masters and from other people, all that you want. But if you don't feel that in your heart space as the truth, then it's not for you.
Exactly.
Right.
You could be following someone else that's really like guiding you, being a mentor or something, and they can give you advice and you take in what resonates with you. Mm-hmm. And that's when we get so crazy because I overload myself with information and I get, a little overwhelmed and I got to take a step back and be like, okay, breathe. I don't have to have all the knowledge right now. It'll come in divine timing. But I have to keep going back to what I feel in my soul is the truth and what works for me. Mm-hmm. And it is going to be different for every single one of us.
But my father always told me, what, are you going to be a professional student your entire life? And I'm like, well, fine. Yes. I wanted to have a doctorate and everything else.
We are all students for life because.
Yes, but then again, I've also got my uncle who used to tell me.
As soon as we think we know it all, We're done. Life is
Yeah,
over.
I know. But see, then I've got my uncle who's a farmer who tells me, great, you know all that. What are you going to do with it?
I'm going to phone a friend when they're on a show. They're going to win $1 million because they're going to call me. That's what it is.
and they'll give you $25 as a thank you. You know, they're millionaires, and you know you can't even pay the light bill. But hey, that'll work. It's learning to be less material. Yeah, so I'm wearing clothes that I bought 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Well, and
Look
it's
at
not
you,
feeding
though.
into
You're
that
a
system.
wise shopper. It's still in style. See?
Right.
Yeah. You know, go to secondhand stores. We don't need to be paying hundreds of dollars for one article of clothing. And
no,
just like
I have to buy it originally because I
yesterday.
don't like somebody else's energy in my stuff. It just
Fair enough.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, there was the guy that was on Jeopardy, and he was one of the guys that won like a ton of money on Jeopardy. And every day he wasn't like the top four, you know, he wasn't like Ken Jennings or Hightower or those guys, but he was close. He ended up playing against them in the Tournament of Champions. And every day he showed up with a different suit on, and they were expensive suits. And they finally asked him about it because you know how they always bring up stuff about you during the part of the show. And he said the host of the time was still what's his name, Alex Trebek. It was before he died. And he said, you have an interesting thing about these suits that you've been wearing on the show. And he said, yeah. He said, all of these suits are very expensive suits, really expensive suits. He says, and I got them all at a thrift store. He said, I don't buy anything from off the rack. I go to a thrift store or a consignment shop, and I buy all this stuff that people didn't want. All these suits have been worn maybe once, twice by rich people, and now they're trying to get rid of them.
Recycle,
and they're selling them.
Upcycle.
And so
cleanse that energy, you know, with sage or Palo Santos, you know, cleanse the energy off of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, clear it out. And so that's what he did. He said he just cleared the energy, and he's wearing these suits that were $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 suits. He paid $30 for.
See, at one point I would have been really envious of that, and I would have gone to all the thrift shops and looked for that because that's the style that I was. But that was when I was my first 25 years in life, when I was my dad's shadow. Okay, and I was figuring out how the directors and managers and business owners and how they thought and how they acted and how they interacted. But you see these guys that have all this fucking money and they spent 12, 14 hours in the office. They're complete fucking assholes. They're always trying to underbid everybody else. They're on their third or fourth marriage. Their kids don't fucking talk to them, and they don't want to go home because there's nothing for them to go home to. But yet they wear these expensive suits and drive these expensive cars to make themselves comfortable during those instances when they're not busting their ass making somebody else's life miserable, because their general job is to push their employees beyond breaking, to suck as much out of their customers as they possibly can, and to make sure that they don't pay the government a damn thing because it's their money, not the government's money, and nobody else has the right to tear her hard-earned money. And so that was the mentality.
Did anybody see where all of these different companies actually closed on Easter Sunday this year? I think it is so great that these companies are finally being pushed to give workers time with family, time for holidays, time for healing. And, you know, we have like you're saying, you know, we have become the society of we've got to outdo the Joneses. We've got to work, you know, 24/7, 7 days a week.
The problem with that is that you're not competing with one other person. My neighbor over there has a pool. I want a pool. My neighbor on the other side has a fantastic car. I want that car. Oh, my neighbor down the street just drove up with this big ass boat and he went fishing this weekend. I want that big ass boat and go fishing. My other neighbor on the other side just came back from this fantastic trip from Europe, and oh God, I have to have the pool. I have to have the boat. I have to have the car. I have to have the trip to Europe. And the guy who went to Europe doesn't have a pool, and he doesn't have a really fancy car because he spent all his money on the trip. The guy who has the boat doesn't have a pool or a car because he spends every fucking weekend out on the lake, you know, seasick or not. And he's scrubbing down that boat whenever you don't see it. You know, the guy who has the car, well, he's
Right.
got that car because he spends 90% of his day on there because he's driving across town, visiting 20 different customers, and he lives in that fucking car. And the guy who has a pool
Right.
only gets to use it on the weekend, and he spends the rest of the damn time cleaning it or paying somebody else to clean it. And if they could get rid of that pool after 2 or 3 years, they'd get rid of it. But you don't see any of all that. But you're working 16-hour days, putting your kids in fucking daycare and your parents into a rest home because you got to have all that shit that is meaningless, and you're not impressing anybody anyway, because when you show everybody all your shit, all they are is envious and want you to fucking get stuffed. So
Well, and what happens is because of movies, people get caught in that movie ideology, and so the movie in 2 hours or an hour and a half these days, because most people don't have the attention span to last a very long time because of all the stuff that's going on bombarding them. The problem with the movie is you see the characters are introduced in the first 10 minutes, and by the end of the movie, they've gone through an entire relationship, and now they're married to somebody and having sex. So because of that, instant gratification is in the movies in less than 2 hours. So what happens is people start to emulate that in real life, and they think and they don't look at what happens after. There is no happily ever after in a movie because it ends. So when does they don't show you the part where the honeymoon is over, and then you have to get used to each other's idiosyncrasies and the shit that pisses you off. Right? When they left the cat off in the shower.
Close the fucking doors. I've been telling you for 20 fucking years. Close the doors.
So it's the same thing, right? Yeah. So next time you're taking a crap, close the door or light a match, something.
Can't you put the cap on the tooth?
And you don't see that when you're chasing the Joneses. All you see is they got a pool, or they got the car, or they got the boat, and you wish you had all of that. And the truth is, you don't even realize, or people don't even realize, the work it takes to have it, maintain it, and to keep it, and that you can't get all of that stuff, like you said, because it's impossible. You have to do the pool. Like my brother has a pool in the house that he's in, and he bought the house and has a pool, and he was all excited. And now he understands what I know, because I was a pool and spa operator for 10 years. I have the certificate. I was certified in this state, the state of California. Because it was part of my job. I was in construction and maintenance, and part of my job was to teach people and take care of 2 pools of the spa, and then go off campus and go to other places and teach people how to do the same. As well as all the other stuff that had to do with construction and lining people up and doing everything from the ground up and putting houses in. So I understood what it took to deal with that. And my brother's had to learn that in the last year and a half. And he's like, oh my God, how did you do this every single day? I'm like, try to do that and build the house at the same time and line everybody up to build the house, and end up having to go in and do some work as well to do all of that, not to mention the underground gas, electric, and water that I was also certified for and that I also did. And I'm like, all you're trying to do is having somebody come maintain your pool. Right?
A lot of people
realizing the reality.
Right. A lot of people are mentioning in the audience debt, credit cards, trying to, rob Peter to pay Paul. And all of this is...
That was my dad's life.
Exactly.
Was robbing Peter to pay Paul. I don't owe a dime. Go ahead, sorry.
No. I was just gonna. No. You're fine. I just wanted to bring it back to this all takes toll on our health, on our spiritual, on our physical, on our mental, and so you really, again, now we're back at looking in the mirror at shadow. What really means the most to you? Your health, spending time with family, connecting with your kids, off of technology, off video games, or keeping up with the Joneses. Because you know what? I'll bet you any amount of money. If you looked at the Joneses' medical charts, they're very unhappy and very unhealthy. And it's just not
right.
worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the reasons I've got all the bad habits that I have is because I've learned at a very early, fuck that. Leo knows this. I'm practically fucking genius level. So people don't believe that when I was 14, I was thinking about the shit that I was thinking about when I was 14. And one of the things was analyzing people's lives, because I grew up, all my best friends were my parents' friends, and they were in their 30s and their friends were in their 40s and 50s. And so I was listening to all these old people bitching about their lives. And I started thinking about, okay, what are the greatest killers on the planet? And it's heart disease, and it's high blood pressure, and it's diabetes, and it's stroke. And then I look back at all these things, and what do all these things have in common? They all have stress as a common denominator.
Yes.
Diabetes is caused by a highly stressful situation.
Yes.
High blood pressure is caused by being stressful and your heart pumping all the fucking time. Heart attacks are because you're
Eating too much
constantly
salt.
doing that, and all of a sudden you've got your adrenaline rush the entire time. Cholesterol isn't from the body creating the fat and the externalities of the things that you eat. It's pulling that dried and cold fat back from your extremities, through all your veins, through adrenaline, back to your core, so that it will protect you against a bear claw or some other animal that's trying to eat you, and it's protecting your core. So it's pulling all that fat back through your veins that causes the high blood pressure and the stopped up veins. And so all of these problems that people had, I realized at 14 was stress related. And everything that we were pushed to live as in our lives was stress creators. And so at that point, I started going, fuck this noise. I got to find some other way to live. And so I've been trying to live off the system for 35 fucking years, and I still haven't figured it out, because later on I realized that the beast system is global and you can't get away from it unless you build your own communities, unless you find a way to survive outside the system.
Bring it back to what we talked about yesterday, which is, it's Earth Day celebration. It's planting your own produce. And I talked yesterday a little bit about a gardener that I had interviewed to help me out on my property. And if I wasn't going to use Roundup, he was going to charge me more than double to do the gardening. Wow. And I thought that is the epitome of manipulation.
Yes.
And it is, whether it's government manipulation, company manipulation, big pharma manipulation. I'm not going to go on this because this is another show that Leonard will do next week. But what I will say is, I just want to point out, we have options. We do not have to buy the stuff with the Roundup. Plant your plants, spend time with your family gardening. You have choices.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we have free will. Like that's the main thing that the creator.
No, you don't. The World Economic Forum wants to eliminate that, and they want to put chips into your brain to make sure that you do not choose what you choose, because people are stupid, they're insignificant, they are useless. If you ask the World Economic Forum vice head, he said, we are creating generations of useless people because the robots are going to do everything. So what are we going to do with all these people? We'll just put them on drugs and put them video games and keep them satiated. What the fuck kind of mentality is that? And these are the people running our fucking world. Sorry.
I have a huge problem.
That's that religion that they subscribe to, that because when people move away from the light, then that dims the heart chakra, because to leave the light and to ignore the light means you don't have any love. So if you don't have any love, then you have no creative ability. So all you can do is control, destroy, and abuse. That's all they can do. So that's what they do. They have to take something that's already there, control it, abuse it, and destroy it. That's all they can do to prove their power and their control, because that's what it's about. They live in fear because they have no love. Without love, it generates fear. They want everybody else living in fear as well, because they want to control and consume. That is what they're obsessed with. If you look at any movie, every time they try to show you someone who's evil in any way, what is it that makes up the personification of evil? It is all of that. That's why I keep telling people, you need to understand, or you need to understand. There I go again. You need to understand, because we don't stand under anyone. You need to understand. You need to get the concept that is a religion. And people think that people who are evil just think like we do, and they feel like we do. No, everything that you feel and think, if you're not evil, is evil to them. They have a religion. That religion is what we call politics on this planet. It is nefariousness. It is their sociopath ideology, and it is power, control, consumption, destruction. That is all they can do. That's all they have in their repertoire of their psyche, because they've chosen to be that. Okay, so
I want to address
that. You have to realize it's a religion. It's not just an idea. You have to realize
religion affects thought processes, and thought processes is all we are. But I wanted to adjust Jeanette's. She has high blood pressure, also has extremely high red blood cells. She's trying to heal that. You do that mentally. Why? Because you have to make sure that you stop dwelling on all the negative things that are consuming you, that are stressing you, that are making you out of sorts.
You into that fear place.
Yeah. Exactly. You get, I mean, there's two sides to everything. And some people like Aaron will say, well, both sides have to exist. Yeah, but one of them is destructive and one of them is constructive. And so you want to stay more on the constructive side as much as you possibly can, because there's enough fear and destruction on the planet as is. So what you want to be able to do is, if you fear something, then find something that will give you hope. Okay, it's that solution versus the problem. If you're really angry or hateful of something, then try and understand why and bring love into it. How can you love this person to where they'll do less of the things that you hate? Or how can you simply avoid that reality so you don't have to focus on the anger and the hate? You can focus more on the love and the healing and the kindness and the generosity and the things that are good in this world, things that will give you a higher resonance in your processing, and that affects the hormones that your brain generates. That affects the DNA strands that are opened up, because everything depends on the pH levels on your body. The more acidic it is, the more dangerous things are going to grow, the more your DNA platelets are opened up to allow for more negative things to actually become realities in your body. If you alkaline your body, which is not only through the things that you eat and things and everything else, but also the thought processes that you have. Because my grandmother used to tell me, if you're angry, you're going to affect your liver. Why? Because when you're angry, you're generating these higher acidity levels in your body that have to be processed by your liver. So angry people usually have liver problems because it's processing all that acid. So don't be angry. Be loving and be kind. I know things are difficult, especially when your boss is yelling at you, but you're going, okay, this guy's in a bad place. And you try and love on him. Yeah, they're screaming at you because it's the kick the cat scenario. He got screamed at by somebody else. Just make sure that you don't pass it on to kick the next guy.
Right, that's why they say shit rolls downhill, because that's what happens. He got kicked because his boss got kicked, and now you're getting kicked. The lowest guy on the totem pole gets kicked the hardest.
Yeah, which is usually you. You are usually
to stop that process. We have that power to stop, that negative rolling of coming down onto us. We can be that person to say,
not only can be,
you know what, I'm
going
to change my views, or I'm going to change this energy. And I'm going to, same thing with like generational things that you're learning, like from your family and things like that, that I am going to, not let this go any farther. I'm going to stop this now. And I have
this uncle who's an asshole, treats everybody like dog shit. I'm not going to change my uncle, but I'm going to remember, oh, my uncle used to say that. I'm not going to say that. My uncle used to do that. I'm not going to do that.
My father did that. His father was that guy, he was he should have had the hat on that said instant asshole, just had alcohol. That was my grandfather on my father's side. And he also should have wore that shirt that said the beatings will now commence. Every time he got drunk, he started beating up everybody in the household. All the kids ran away from home at an early age. All the boys, all three of the boys, joined the military and went into, they'd rather fight a war against the Japanese and the Germans than to stay at home with their father. They would run and hide at their grandmother's house, and he would beat up mom, or mom would try to protect the kids, and dad would beat up mom. So my father decided he was not going to be that way no matter what. And he warned us kids, alcoholism runs in our family, be careful, right? And most of our family never listened, and everybody became an alcoholic. The only one who's not is my brother, my younger brother, the youngest of everyone. He never became an alcoholic because he knew that he had the gene. The rest of us all drank. I'm just now, 48, 50 days sober, right? I literally on March 3rd, I went into the hospital and I haven't had a drink since then. Thank you, right? So I don't have a chip. I don't have a chip or anything like that because I don't go to AA meetings. I don't need to do that stuff. You go to AA meeting and all they're going to teach me is what I already know as a minister, because they use the religion to teach you all that stuff, right? So So I don't need that. I have a good core group of friends who check on me and talk to me. Jacqueline, who just popped back into the green room, is another one who contacts me every other day. How are you doing? Are you still not drinking? Please be honest. Tell me if you are. No, I'm not. I don't plan on going back. I utilized that negative of me having a problem with my foot, and I'm still rehabilitating my foot now. It's up on a chair. Having that
Except
issue,
me and the
almost
negative
losing my
with
foot.
breathing heavy.
Right. Yeah. And then you're breathing heavy. Right. And then so you need to quit smoking. Think about it. Right. My priest said to me when I was going to church, when I was a Catholic, now I'm a recovering Catholic, right? And he was also knighted by the church. He said to me every time he saw me smoking, first he would say, Leo, you look like the IRA. And I would be like, well, Father Neil, I am the IRA. I am in the IRA. And he'd laugh. You are, aren't you? I knew it. Right. But then he would say to me, if you smoke now, you're going to smoke later. He said that to me every time he saw me. Leo, if you smoke now, you're going to smoke later. And I was like, what? Don't say, that's not something you say to someone. He's like, if I'm trying to get you to quit smoking, it is. But the truth is, right, that I started having lung issues, ended up with COPD. Well, now I tested, I don't have COPD, and no doctor on the face of the earth will actually say you don't have COPD anymore, because no one has ever done what my lungs have done. They've regenerated from having COPD to where I should be wearing oxygen to cleared up, not there. And they're looking at the x-rays and they're like, we don't understand how your lungs regenerated. I'm like, well, first of all, your lungs, like your tongue, is a very resilient organ, and the lungs regenerate better than any other organ besides your tongue, because your tongue, you're constantly cutting it while you're eating. And the lungs, because of us humans living in caves and burning wood, we had soot in the caves that we were breathing. So our lungs adapted. But you have to unlock that. And that goes back to attitude, like Mike was saying. I didn't want to have COPD. I have supposedly now I have asthma and COPD. They've both been in remission for 8 years. They won't say that it's gone away, but they're both in remission.
COPD, so please teach me how.
Right.
Yeah, and that was my friend from Anthony from Positive Pineapple. He had lung disease. He had COPD. He started doing, like the Wim Hof breathing.
Yes.
Right.
And he was able to cure his own lung issues.
Breathing is very important. I did the same thing. I did a lot of breathing techniques to learn.
And I'm doing that, and I'm getting lightheaded. It's like.
That's okay though. That's oxygen coming into your body.
Yeah, that means you're getting a ton of it in there, and you're getting super oxygenated. That's a good sign. In fact, there's an Asian man.
It's like getting high, man. It's better than alcohol, bitch. Woo-hoo.
I don't know who it was that said it, but it was an Asian man who said every single day you should, when you wake up, you should try to hyperventilate yourself. You should go,
yes,
and keep doing that until you get lightheaded. Every day, breathe in as hard as you can, as long as you can, blow it out as fast as you can, and continue doing that until you get lightheaded, then stop, because you'll pass out otherwise. So you make sure you're sitting down. But if you do that every single day, it forces your lungs to regenerate, and you super oxygenate. We have this backwards way of saying things, and the doctors do this on purpose.
Right? My oxygenation
they say
was 98%.
you take all this stuff and it has antioxidants, and so people think that means it takes the oxygen out of your blood. It's the opposite. An antioxidant is something that super oxygenates your blood, because oxygen in your blood kills cancer.
Well, they said when I went in for
the fuel, take the fuel out of your body that causes nefariousness. That would be salt and sugar, right? But don't go completely without salt, because then you can hurt yourself. You can die if you don't have any salt in your body. You have to have potassium. You have to have salt. If you don't have enough of that, you can actually die from it. So don't take all the salt out of your diet, right? But if you eat the right salts and don't salt stuff too much, and you get rid of all the carbs and sugar out of your diet, I'm not keto, however you say that, but I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying find the rhythm. Jacqueline said this earlier. You got to find that rhythm within your body, your own body. You have to find that. And then Peter said that earlier as well before he got knocked offline. Peter said that as well. You have to find that algorithm of your own body that works for you, but you will find in nature that certain things, like Mike said, focusing anger, fear, aggression. I hate to quote
Yes.
Yoda, but that's the path to the dark side. All negative feelings and emotions are the damaging to us. And then the food you eat, and I tell everyone all the time, do the food challenge. Go out and buy fast food, come home, or first cook food for yourself. Then go and buy fast food and put them side by side and get that burger and take a bite of that burger and chew on that burger and sit there and go, I love this burger. Man, this is good. And nom, got at some fast food restaurant. And then think to yourself, what energy do I feel from this burger? Do I feel any energy? Do I feel a vibration? Do I feel like
actually,
I'm being uplifted?
when I left the hospital yesterday, the first thing I did was Burger King. Because I needed my comfort food. Because I have been cooking my own food for a long time, and every once in a while, you just need that greasy comfort food.
Then I cook it. I cook it myself, right? Anybody wants a burger that they get out of a McDonald's, Burger King, one of those places?
Yep, there's nothing like that.
I'll cook them the same burger, and guess what? That burger is going to have 100 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams less salt. It's going to have 1,000 milligrams less sugar. The wheat that I'm going to give you on the bun is going to be 100% whole wheat, not enriched wheat flour, which means sugar, right? And I'm going to give you real cheese, not processed cheese food. I'm going to give you real meat, lean, 80%, so it's not going to be all kinds of greasy gunk that's bad for you. I'm not going to dip anything into some big vat full of oil and then give it to you with breading, which is mostly salt and sugar anyways. I'm going to give you the same burger that you're going to get there. And when you eat that burger, you're going to go, oh my, this is really good. And you're going to feel a difference in vibration.
Garbage once a month is okay. The Pulse Ox,
I agree with
did
that. You have to splurge and do stuff that's you have to just because
it's just not the every
crave
fucking
something else
day
if
thing.
you don't. Right?
It's not the everyday thing to where you have to eat it, 3 times a day. I did that in San Diego and I gained 5 pounds in a month. But the Pulse Ox thing, they did that on my finger whenever I went in on Monday and whenever I went in yesterday. And my oxygen levels on Monday, almost a week after the dengue, was at 95%. So it wasn't a problem. My oxygenization levels yesterday when I was breathing heavy were at 98%. So I don't know what to make of those things.
Right.
Hey, evidently I'm still doing okay. I just doesn't feel natural anymore.
Right, and then Peter Coyle, who was here, but he ended up hopping off. He's now in the chat. He's talking about hawthorn, right? Talking about breathing hawthorn. He says if you breathe in the hawthorn, but it's good for what is that, bronchial? I think he was saying, right? It says bronchitis. Another 8 minutes, right? I had a long out. It's him trying to type and talk to his phone, and his phone's not. It's him what he's saying. He's dyslexic, guys, so he has a problem when he's trying to type. So he doesn't. He's speaking to his phone sometimes because of his Irish accent. His phone doesn't actually. You know, how you do that. You're talking to your phone. You look down. And you go, "What is that? I didn't say that." Right.
The groups with Peter and never type. It's always the voice messages. Peter always leaves the voice messages.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's why you'll see, like, if you're in a chat, I know, Karen, you're not in. I don't think you might be in the one chat with us, but if you're in any chat with Peter Coyle, you'll see that I leave all voice messages, and he does too. Yeah, that's because if you type something, if he's not turned on his phone to tell him what you said, he has no idea what you said. So I always leave him voicemails, and we always communicate back and forth, talking to each other. Right?
Yes. Wow.
So the breathing techniques are very important, guys.
Yeah.
And your state of mind. This is the whole purpose of Earth Day and what we're talking about here. Not just, not to say we're not saying send some loving, healing energy to Gaia. We're not saying don't send any energy to the whole human resonance. We are saying to do that, but on top of all of that, to do that properly, Virginia said this early on, to do that properly, you have to be able to first take care of yourself, right? And then I think Casey said this too. Somebody said this. Someone else said this. How can you love everyone else without loving yourself first? How can you heal everyone else without healing yourself first? Peter even said that before he was gone. Peter from South Africa, that you have to take care of yourself and balance yourself so that your energy that you're going to try and give other people, your loving, healing energy, is really loving and really healing, not I'm still kind of out of balance myself. I'll give you a little bit of out of balance loving and healing, right? You're more potent. You get the duck palm, right? You get that, whatever you want to call it, the upside down, the W, the upside down M, whatever you want to call that. The more that you are taking care of yourself and fixing your chakras and aligning yourself and able to channel that Kundalini energy when it comes to healing, Mike laughs because I always put my hand up and he's like, where do you get that? I'm like, a healer will have that, and especially a Reiki master teacher. And the more that you're in tune, the more that you're aligned, the more that becomes apparent. So it's one of those, that's why they always show you that palm and they always put a star in there, right? That's that intergalactic or galactic symbol of a healer. You know what I mean?
I want that duck palm. Shit, man. I'm so jealous of you, man.
But you know what? That takes time. You have to attune yourself. You have to live it. It's not just something that you digest. You have to become a healer. You have to have the attitude of that. And I'm still doing it. I'm still finding that I'm not. Other people look at me and I put my palm up there and they're further more advanced, like Penzik. If you guys know who Penzik is or was, Penzik was like the biggest Reiki healer in the United States, with 100 million books and you know what I mean? And that guy would make my palm look like I'm like nothing there compared to him, because he was so much more, or is so much more advanced than I am, spiritually as well as physically. I know that I still have work, so I don't look at that and think, well, that's the best one you're ever going to see, because I'm waiting for that glowing star that you see.
It's like those Qigong masters that just push the chi right out of their hand, right?
Yeah.
Whoosh up.
Right? Yeah. You want to see that?
One of these days, man, I'll get there.
But in real life, that's why I like Lord of the Rings, the movies, because they didn't have all the lightning and thunder and lights and stuff coming out of the palms.
Big Trouble in Little China was my favorite movie. That thing
I love
was
Big Trouble in Little China, but that one had all the lights and bells and whistles. But that was a funny movie, right? That was a great movie. I'd recommend that to anybody. Fun movie, really fun, right? So getting back to being on point with that, it's all part of doing that shadow work and continuing to always do that work. We have to continue constantly, because we're being bombarded constantly by these external egos that are there, not just people, but the television, the news, movies. You have to start looking for what you think about is what you see. So if you're obsessed with negativity, you're only going to see the negative message in any movie, in any story, in anything that you see. So if you're more of a positive thinker, that's how you can check, guys. If you're out there going, I wonder where I rate in that. Well, watch a movie, and at the end of the movie, did you take away something negative or positive, or was it kind of a balance between the two? You kind of saw both. Which one was it? That's going to tell you where you are, whether you know it or not, whether you want to, if you're not being objective. That's a good test. It's a good test to do on yourself, because it'll show you where you are. What did you get from Star Wars? What did you get from, pick a movie that's a sci-fi movie or a movie that's a comedy even. And if you see negative in a comedy, you need some work. Right? If you're finding negative stuff in a comedy, right? Yeah, that was an okay movie, but that guy was prejudiced because he said blah.
I could laugh at George Carlin, but that guy needed Jesus, man. Let me tell you.
George Carlin was a genius. He was like Lenny Bruce. He was very political minded, but he was very objective when it came to his ideology and his politics. Yeah. Loved that man. God rest his soul.
He really needed Jesus. I'm sorry, when he left, he was in a very dark place. Hey, Jack.
from the. Can I get a oh
You're right. Look at that.
Hell yeah!
The
No.
phone
How
sitting
about
straight up.
heaven?
Right.
How about heaven be with you? I can do that one.
Right? Yeah. That was Jacqueline. That was funny right there. Right? It looked like her daughter might have been sticking her little head in there too. I don't know if there was someone else there besides her.
That was all my sister. I'm switching phones, friends.
Was that your sister? Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's on. She's taking the kids to the pool. I'm like, I just gotta finish the stream. We're almost done.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We only got about 10 minutes left. Right.
Yeah.
That's funny. So all of a sudden it's popping in. I'm like, what? Who was that? What was that?
I know. It was like, what?
And then
Yeah,
she
go,
dropped
hell
again,
yeah.
right?
Kinda came in.
Peter was trying to come in. He's been in the green room. And I didn't see that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Thank you. Sorry, Peter. I didn't see
That's
you
perfect.
there.
That's perfect.
Now looked. I
No, I had
apologize.
to switch off because I'm out now. So, you know,
all right then.
I'm outside. The camera will only go that side. It won't come back this way.
Yeah, that's because you got to figure out how to turn that thing. There's a button that you got to press, buddy.
Yeah, I'll have to go back down to your man down in the shop and get him to figure it out. Because, oh, Jesus, it's confusing.
Right, it is. And technology, until you get used to it, is that way. And then you guys will get it figured out. I think that's hilarious that he's got. Then once you switch it, it'll stay that way, and you'll forget, and you're like, "How do I get it back?" Because you'll try to show somebody, and you won't be able to do it, and you'll be just as lost. That's what's funny.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Pamela says, let me bring in Jacqueline back in. Pamela says, "Wonderful accent, Peter." Right. That's Peter from Ireland. And that's his thick Irish accent.
Well, Pamela is from Ireland as well.
Oh, that's why she said great accent. That's
why.
right. She's from Ireland.
Yeah.
That's funny, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
I have a deep northern south accent because I'm in the middle of Ireland.
Right.
You know, so
This is deep northern south. She says she's in Northern Ireland. She said, where are you from? I'm in Northern Ireland, she said. So he's in the central. He's in the middle of Ireland.
I be in the
toward
middle.
South, right? That's funny right there. I can't hear Jacqueline. Your mic is muted.
I know. I like to talk to myself. Plus, I'm trying to get the video set up in the whole new area.
That's right. You're doing good.
Yeah. I love it.
Right. So yeah, I'm glad that Peter finally was able to come on, even if it's just microphone for a little bit. We'll have to once he gets the camera figured out, we'll have to have him back on the show. We'll have him on Orion Rising. We'll probably have him on Skull Island as well. Right. So that'll be fun, I think. We need to get him back on the air. I can hear him walking.
Oh, he's walking. I thought he was
breathing.
I thought he was teaching me breathing. I thought he was teaching me.
I'm going up to catch a bus. Hopefully, I'm not bullied tonight. So
yeah, those of you who don't know,
you are the light brother.
Peter
They're not bullying you. They're trying to catch into alignment with themselves.
Right.
Well,
That's
last
funny.
night when that happened, they thought they were being bright sparks. Within 15 minutes, to put the video up straight up on TikTok, they were up to town, and all the local youth came up and start bullying them, and they didn't like it. So
yeah, we all get censored in so many different ways. Like, for example, it doesn't matter if I transmute the energy and put it in another context, so hearts can understand instead of the mind. And even still, that's why I just do empowering and inspiring clothes and calling all global ambassadors, because when we're no longer fixated by the minute of, let's just say, traffic or being in prison by a fucking app, like what is going on, right? Like, really, like, we're creating these frameworks for the humanity and intelligence as is, and that's really where we got to come back to and see that no matter what time or what timers going off, so to say, is to be present in that now. And I love setting timers throughout the day just to kind of reconnect with that energy, whatever that is, right? If that's just the one staring back in the mirror, or if it's the soul seeing through the soul, or the Galactica seeing it through a vision as the channel or the conduit, as we all are. It's so beautiful. I love you, Pete. I'm so glad you're doing this. I love you all. Can't wait to get to know everybody. Oh, it's been so exciting every time. It's like you get to meet more family. Oh, family.
Right? What is that? What are you showing there? Hold on, I'm gonna put you up on the screen, Mike. Put that back up there. Is that your?
It's what is it? It's a sulfate of salbutamol. Because my 6 hours were up, and so I had to do a couple of asthma spritzes, which
Right.
really fucking bothers me because those were all those little asthmatic kids who were overly cared for by their mommies. And while I was playing football and in honors classes, I'd be looking at those little asthma fucks going, hey, you little pussy, try and fucking keep up with me as I'm running 5 miles a fucking day. And
Right.
here I am at 50, fucking waiting for the time that I can actually pump this thing into my fucking lungs.
Right.
And
I
breathing
carry
into my
an
mouth.
inhaler with me in my pocket all the time, but I don't hit this thing, but maybe once, I don't know, once every couple of months, if there's a fire outside or something. But you know, that there was
But
a
it doesn't
time
make a fucking
when I
difference,
had to
to be
pull that
honest
thing
with you.
out and hit it a couple of 3, 4, or 5 times a day. You know, you're only supposed to do it once or twice because it's a steroid. But you know, there was times when my lungs
It
were
ain't
messed up.
helping.
Yeah.
Fuck all. It's
Right.
completely because I took 3 sessions of those last night, and it
Right.
didn't help anything, which is why I asked them to give me the cortisol because that was the only thing. And even then, I was just like slightly breathing less heavy, but
Yeah.
breathing in through my mouth really is heavy. But
So, question for you: because I
in the mouth and
with these intense energies, it's like I had an asthma attack in the middle of the store. I'm like, I start
Right.
coughing hysterically. I'm like, I'm so sorry, I had an asthma attack, and it's been so long, I didn't even know. Because it's these energies that are coming forth from all continuums, right? And what I've instructed the innate intelligence to do is to move past it so I don't feel that heaviness in my heart, right? I can breathe and allow and accept
Right.
and feel into that moment. So then instead of my heart racing, like I'm going on pure adrenaline right now, 36, it doesn't matter how many fucking hours. Because I'm
Right.
conscious, right? Like I'm present. So yes, sleep is a very important tool for us. We can sleep our whole life or we can sleep just the time that we're meant to rest our body. So where I'm going with this is with the lungs, especially, and in the heart and the mind, we can connect the two with the coherence and then be able to, the spiritual technology within us activate the cells within our being. So then those cells are activating themselves. So then we're not feeling that heaviness all the time or not being able to breathe. Because most people can't even palate this energy, let alone breathe. The crystalline grids that are like present in every moment. Right? I just start laughing hysterically when people are like, "Are you
And
okay?"
you're talking about the heart, Jacqueline.
Yes.
That's the oak. That's the heart of Bridget.
Yeah.
Right there.
Absolutely. You know, and that's a good segue. I want to bring us back a little bit because we're almost out of time and it is the last day of celebrating Gaia Mother Earth. And like Peter just said, the heart is the oak, it is Bridget, it is, you know, there is so much that goes on with Gaia Mother Earth that connects us, and we have multiple eclipses coming up. We have Mercury going retrograde. We have the next full moon is in Scorpio. We have Pluto going retrograde. We have a new moon in Gemini. So there is all kinds of things happening that is going to affect our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual.
Yeah.
But by going outside, connecting with Mother Earth, the trees, the flowers, the herbs, the vegetables, the birds, the butterflies, it does heal all, and it will heal all because it does participate with and connect us to our cells, to our DNA, to Mother Earth, to natural healing. And this is what these shows have all been about. And I'm so glad we've had such a variety of topics and people participating in the audience on the show all around the world. And Peter is reminding us in Ireland, get out there, walk, run, exercise, and connect, right?
Yes.
Agreed.
This has
Agreed,
been great,
100%.
everybody.
You talked about nature and being in. that was my focus. Whenever I wanted to get away from Mexico City, biggest fucking city in the world. The smell of pollution was absolutely, that's
Beautiful.
what I grew up with. Living there is like smoking two packs a day. And so, yeah, it was everything this has been my reality. All those trees I planted, I have watched grow. That is 25 years. This is all clear cut land.
Beautiful.
Whenever I first bought it or it was bought for me. And all those trees, that entire forest is mine. I am surrounded by as much oxygen and trees, the cacophony of birds that sing in the morning, and the amount of, I have owls, I have bats that fly around at night catching some of the
Well, you know what? You said that's yours, but I want to correct you because what you did there, every single tree is one thing. And one thing does make a difference worldwide. It really does. So I thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
I have. They're not mine, but I have allowed them to grow. The reason I say mine is because the majority of them I actually planted. But more than anything, I have allowed them to grow where other people have been wanting to cut them down and build something material or something that'll make more money, or, oh, why do you want so much grass? And I'm like, it's a meadow in the middle of a forest, and my birds and the animals love it. And I feel that peace and tranquil, and the amount of oxygen that's available for everybody makes everybody more peaceful.
Yeah.
And I still don't understand why I have such heavy breathing.
Maybe it could be the connection to each. I'm picking up on the plants that you've planted. It's that inner seeding within you. It's that conscious connection, and somebody was sharing in the group the other day, consciously connecting to like the home and speaking to it, and maybe just speaking to those trees and then speaking back to you will give you that story of not only the herbs in front of you that you have planted and flourished for the last 25 years, yet the blossoming of new earth.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Oh, when it rains, I can smell all the earthworms and the humus that's coming up right before. It's a wonderful thing. I actually have earthworms up in my gutters. And my son brought me the other day, and he's like, "Dad, how did that
I
work?"
wonder how they got up there, right?
Exactly. And some of them are like 2 inches long because they've just been growing up there. And I'll just grab a bunch of dirt and toss them down, and I hope they survive the fall. But there's just earthworms everywhere on my roof. I mean, how the hell?
We talked about this yesterday. It's along the same line as composting. If you don't clean up the dead leaves, they decay and they become compost.
I get that. I understand that's where all the dirt comes from. But where did the earthworms come from?
A bird picked them up from the earth and took them up to your roof, and that's where they ended up.
Yeah.
There's so many. So many.
Happy Earth Day, everyone.
Yeah.
Happy
Earth Day. Thank you for participating. Celebrate. Don't forget Gaia Mother Earth every day. Hopefully we shared at least one thing that helps everyone every day.
She has rebuilding properties. Allow her to heal.
Blessings.
Yeah, the beauty of Gaia is that if Gaia ever shakes us humans off, Gaia would be just fine without us.
It's like George Carlin said. The Earth isn't fucked. The Earth will be just fine. We're the ones who are fucked.
Right? So guys, we need to last message. Take care of Mother Earth. Otherwise, she's going to take care of us.
True.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Love you all. Sending out
love, light,
love
peace,
and light.
and harmony.
Love and light.
All right, guys. and you know what, guys? If you're out there, remember this parting thought. Just like Christmas, it doesn't have to be one day. Earth Day doesn't have to be one day. Earth Day should be every day.
Every
day. Right?
Every day.
Every day. And focus on that as you go forward today, tomorrow. And remember, wait, today's Earth Day. I had a priest who would say to me, today is Christmas. Every day is Christmas. And I said, well, how is that? And he said, well, because it's Christ Mass. So that's what Christmas means. So every day for me is Christmas. That's what he meant. And I get that. Earth Day should be every day. Because it is why the earth is constant. The earth is the one thing and the only thing that we have. Without this earth, none of us can exist. So if we don't take care of it properly, like I said, it'll take care of us, because if it realizes that we're the cancer, it'll get rid of it.
It'll shake us off like fleas.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It'll shake us off like fleas.
Yep. All right,
Yeah.
guys. Happy Earth Day. I know it's
Happy Earth Day.
yesterday was Earth Day. We did 2 days. Last year we did it the day before and the day of in America. This time we did it the other way around. We went the day of and the day after. But you know what? It's a weekend. I don't know anybody who's doing anything this weekend. Come on, man. If you're out there and you're doing something good for you, but the truth is, if you're not doing something that's helping the planet, you're wasting your time.
Sure.
That's just my thinking.
Plant a tree.
All right, guys.
Oh, God.